Hello, dear friends. I hope you're feeling calm and ready to unwind. Tonight, I invite you to join me on a gentle journey through a city like no other, Venice. Together, we'll explore the hidden waterways that weave quietly beneath ancient bridges and timeless streets. So find a comfortable place to relax, close your eyes if you wish, and let's begin our peaceful voyage through the hidden waterways of Venice. Imagine a city unlike any other, where the streets are winding canals, and the gentle ripple of water replaces the hum of cars and footsteps. Venice rises gracefully from a shimmering lagoon in northeastern Italy, a masterpiece of human ingenuity and resilience, built on thousands of wooden piles driven deep into the soft, silty earth beneath the water's surface. In this ancient city, every stone, every arch, and every narrow canal tells a story of survival, adaptation, and beauty crafted over centuries. The hidden waterways of Venice are the city's veins, carrying life and history silently beneath the surface. Long ago, Venice was a fragile collection of small islands surrounded by marshes and tidal waters. The early Venetians, faced with the challenge of living in such a watery landscape, devised an intricate network of canals that served as streets and waterways for transportation, commerce, and daily life. These hidden canals were often narrow, winding, and secretive, safe passages for merchants, gondoliers, and locals alike to move discreetly through the city's labyrinth. They provided quiet refuges away from the bustling plazas and tourist-filled thoroughfares. Imagine drifting along these canals at dusk, the air cool and heavy with the scent of salt and blooming flowers from hidden gardens. The soft glow of lanterns reflects off the still water, casting shimmering patterns on ancient stone walls that have withstood centuries of tides and time. Along these waterways, merchants once unloaded precious silks, spices, and glassware, while artists found inspiration in the play of light and shadow. The canals have witnessed weddings, festivals, secret meetings, and countless everyday moments that together weave the rich tapestry of Venetian life. As you settle deeper into the story, imagine yourself floating slowly through a hidden canal, surrounded by the quiet beauty of a city cradled by water. Feel the gentle sway of the gondola beneath you, the whisper of water lapping softly against weathered stone, and the timeless calm that Venice's hidden waterways inspire. Let this serene journey carry you softly into rest, as the secrets of Venice's hidden canals lull you into peaceful sleep beneath the stars. Venice's hidden waterways are a marvel of human creativity, crafted from centuries of patience and profound understanding of nature's rhythms. What once was a marshy lagoon filled with tidal pools and reed beds became a vibrant city, built on the vision and determination of its inhabitants, who learned to live in harmony with water rather than against it. The foundation of Venice is a testament to ingenious engineering. Thousands of wooden piles were driven deep into the muddy earth below the lagoon, providing stable support for stone and brick buildings that rose above the waterline. These piles, made from dense oak and alder, remain submerged, preserved by the lack of oxygen underwater, quietly holding the city's weight through the ages. The network of canals they created served as the city's main arteries, paths for boats to glide silently through, connecting neighborhoods, markets, and places of worship. Unlike conventional cities with streets and roads, Venice's lifeblood flows in these narrow channels, winding past centuries-old palazzi, churches, and hidden courtyards. Picture a gondolier at dawn, expertly navigating a narrow, shadowed canal. The water is still, reflecting the delicate arches of stone bridges and the soft hues of early morning light. Around him, the city awakens slowly. Bakeries begin to fill the air with the scent of fresh bread, and distant church bells mark the hour with gentle resonance. The hidden waterways also played a role in Venetian trade and secrecy. Merchants moved valuable goods through these quiet routes, avoiding the crowded Grand Canal. These canals offered privacy and protection, where whispered deals and secret meetings could take place away from prying eyes. Venice's waterways are not only functional but also poetic, places of beauty and inspiration. Artists have long been drawn to the interplay of light and water, the reflections that create shifting images, and the quiet intimacy of a city built on waves. Imagine drifting slowly through these secret canals as the sun climbs higher, the gentle breeze carrying the soft scent of blooming jasmine and salt. The water laps softly against the wooden hulls of boats, and the faint murmur of voices mingles with distant music floating from open windows. As you relax deeper into the story, Allow yourself to be carried by the tranquil flow of Venice's hidden waterways, ancient, mysterious, and endlessly calming. Let the gentle rhythm of water and stone soothe your mind and lead you softly toward peaceful sleep beneath the Venetian sky. As the afternoon sun casts gentle shadows across Venice's narrow canals, the hidden waterways come alive with subtle rhythms, echoes of a city's heartbeat flowing quietly beneath centuries of history and culture. These secret paths have witnessed the lives of countless Venetians, their stories woven into the fabric of a city that floats delicately between land and sea. The architecture lining these waterways is a testament to Venice's enduring resilience and artistry. Palatial buildings with faded frescoes and intricate stonework lean gracefully over the water, their foundations rooted deep in centuries-old wooden piles. Balconies draped with trailing vines and weathered shutters frame narrow windows, offering glimpses of lives lived in timeless harmony with the lagoon. Imagine gliding silently through a secluded canal as the water reflects the soft hues of an overcast sky. The air carries the mingled scents of brine, blooming flowers from hidden gardens, and the faint aroma of freshly baked bread wafting from nearby kitchens. The gentle splash of oars against the water provides a calming rhythm, while the distant tolling of church bells marks the passage of time. Venice's hidden waterways have long served as quiet refuges. Away from the lively tourist-filled thoroughfares and busy piazzas, these canals offer moments of solitude and contemplation. Poets, painters, and dreamers have found inspiration here, their creativity nurtured by the serene beauty and gentle flow of water. The canals have also played a crucial role in Venice's unique social and economic fabric. Merchants transported precious silks, spices, and glassware through these narrow channels, carefully navigating the twists and turns to reach discreet warehouses and markets. These waterways were the veins through which the city's wealth and culture pulsed, silent but vital. Yet Venice's waterways are fragile, subject to the ebb and flow of tides, seasonal flooding, and the slow wear of time and salt. The city's caretakers work tirelessly to preserve these ancient channels, maintaining the delicate balance between human habitation and the natural world. As you drift further into the story, picture yourself enveloped by the cool shade of an old stone bridge, the water's surface calm and mirror-like beneath you. Hear the soft murmur of water lapping against ancient walls and the distant song of a gondolier's serenade carried softly on the breeze. Let the tranquil spirit of Venice's hidden waterways wash over you, calming your thoughts and easing your body into deep, restful sleep. Here, beneath the timeless sky and among the gentle flow of water, find peace, renewal, and quiet comfort. As evening descends softly upon Venice, the hidden waterways take on a mysterious and enchanting quality. Dark waters reflecting the flicker of lanterns, the whisper of ancient stones, and the gentle sway of gondolas gliding through narrow channels. These secret passages, tucked away from the bustling Grand Canal, reveal a side of Venice known only to those who seek its quiet magic. The stone bridges arch gracefully overhead, their surfaces worn smooth by centuries of footsteps, connecting narrow alleys lined with weathered palazzi whose facades tell stories of centuries past. Ivy clings to crumbling walls, and the scent of jasmine drifts through the air, mingling with the cool breath of the lagoon. Imagine yourself floating silently beneath one such bridge, the water's surface like glass beneath the soft glow of lantern light. The sound of your gondolier's gentle oar strokes creates a rhythm that syncs with your own breathing, easing tension and inviting calm. Venice's hidden waterways have served many purposes: secret routes for merchants, quiet passages for lovers, and tranquil retreats for artists and thinkers. They offer a refuge from the city's more crowded thoroughfares, places where time seems to slow and the present moment unfolds in soft, shimmering light. Each canal carries the echoes of countless stories, whispers of celebrations, mournings, and everyday life blending seamlessly into the city's rich tapestry. The reflections dancing on the water's surface tell of a Venice that is both eternal and ever-changing. But Venice's waterways are fragile treasures. Rising tides, seasonal floods known as acqua alta, and the corrosive salt air pose constant threats to this delicate aquatic cityscape. Dedicated caretakers and modern engineering strive to preserve the balance, protecting Venice's heritage for generations to come. As you drift through this tranquil scene, feel the cool night air against your skin, the soft murmur of water echoing through narrow alleys, and the gentle lull of a city cradled by the sea. Let Venice's hidden waterways wrap around you like a comforting embrace, guiding your thoughts softly into rest and peaceful sleep. Here, in the quiet flow of ancient canals and timeless stone, find your sanctuary, a place of calm, beauty, and endless serenity. As the first light of dawn softly illuminates Venice, the hidden waterways begin to shimmer with a gentle glow, awakening slowly from their nighttime slumber. These quiet canals, winding through the labyrinth of the city, hold centuries of whispered stories beneath their calm surfaces. Stories of trade, love, art, and resilience. The early Venetians transformed a challenging lagoon into a thriving metropolis through sheer ingenuity. Building on wooden piles driven deep into the marshy earth, they constructed a city that would defy time and tide, where water is both foundation and lifeblood. Imagine the soft creak of wooden boats as fishermen prepare for their day, nets cast gently into the shimmering waters, while merchants ready their goods, silks, spices, glassworks, to be transported through narrow, winding canals away from the bustling Grand Canal. These hidden waterways offered refuge and discretion, away from the public eye. They provided quiet passage for secret meetings, whispered conversations, and the slow rhythms of daily Venetian life. Here, lovers exchanged glances beneath shadowed arches. Artists found inspiration in the interplay of light and reflection, and the city's heartbeat pulsed softly. The architecture that lines these canals is a testament to Venice's enduring beauty and resilience. Palaces and homes, their foundations resting on centuries-old wooden pilings, rise from the water's edge, adorned with ornate balconies, weathered stone carvings, and ivy that climbs toward the sky. Yet Venice's waterways are fragile. They face the constant challenge of rising tides, floods, and the slow erosion caused by salt water and time. Caretakers and engineers work tirelessly to protect this aquatic cityscape, preserving its delicate balance for generations yet to come. As you float gently through this serene story, picture yourself gliding silently beneath a low bridge, the water reflecting the soft hues of dawn and the muted colors of ancient stone. Feel the cool morning air, filled with the subtle sense of salt and blooming flowers, calming your mind and soothing your body. Let the tranquil flow of Venice's hidden waterways carry you deeper into relaxation and restful sleep. In the quiet dance of water and light, find peace, renewal, and the timeless embrace of a city like no other. As the day progresses, the hidden waterways of Venice carry on their timeless flow, silent witnesses to a city that has long mastered the art of living in harmony with water. Venice is a city of layers of history, culture, and human ingenuity, woven intricately with the ebb and flow of its canals. The canals serve not only as transportation routes, but as the lifeblood of Venice's unique urban fabric. They connect neighborhoods, markets, palaces, and churches, forming a delicate network where water replaces streets and boats replace cars. Imagine the gentle sound of water lapping against wooden hulls, the faint creak of oars, and the soft murmur of voices carried through narrow alleys. The air is tinged with the mingled scents of salt water, blooming flowers from hidden courtyards, and the faint aroma of fresh pastries from nearby bakeries. These hidden waterways have been the backdrop to countless stories over centuries. Tales of merchants transporting exotic goods, gondoliers ferrying lovers beneath moonlit bridges, and artists capturing the interplay of light and shadow. Each canal is a silent storyteller, its waters reflecting the city's enduring spirit and subtle beauty. Yet Venice's relationship with its waterways is fraught with challenge. Rising tides and aqua alta floods threaten the city's foundations, while salt water slowly erodes centuries-old stone and wood. Dedicated caretakers work tirelessly, employing both ancient techniques and modern engineering to preserve Venice's fragile equilibrium. As you drift gently through this narrative, envision yourself gliding beneath a stone archway, the water's surface smooth and mirror-like, reflecting the ornate facades above. Feel the cool breeze, hear the distant tolling of church bells, and embrace the serene rhythm of a city floating gracefully between past and present. Let the hidden waterways of Venice envelop you in their calm embrace, soothing your thoughts and guiding you softly into restful sleep. In the quiet flow of water and time, find peace and renewal, a gentle lullaby from a city like no other. As twilight settles over Venice, the hidden waterways take on a magical quality, dark waters reflecting flickering lanterns and the silhouettes of centuries-old buildings. These quiet canals, often overlooked by bustling crowds, reveal the city's secret soul, an intricate maze of history, art, and life flowing silently beneath the surface. Imagine drifting in a gondola under a low stone bridge, the water cool and calm beneath you, while lantern light dances across the ripples. The air is fragrant with salt and night-blooming flowers, carrying the soft murmur of distant music and gentle voices. Venice's hidden waterways are the backdrop for countless stories of lovers meeting in secret, artists finding inspiration in shadow and light, and merchants quietly conducting their trade under the cover of night. These canals serve as silent witnesses to a city that thrives on water and mystery alike. The architecture lining these waterways is a testament to Venice's enduring beauty and resilience. Ancient palaces with weathered facades lean over the water's edge, their foundations sunk deep into the lagoon, while delicate iron balconies hold vines that bloom even in dim light. Yet Venice's waterways face constant threats. Rising tides and floods threaten to erode this fragile balance, and the salt air slowly weathers the city's stone and wood. Caretakers and engineers work tirelessly to preserve this unique heritage, blending tradition and modern science. As you float gently through this tranquil scene, feel the soft night air on your skin, the quiet splash of oars, and the peaceful rhythm of water flowing beneath you. Let the gentle pulse of Venice's hidden waterways calm your mind, soothing your thoughts and guiding you toward a deep, restful sleep. Here, among the shadows and the shimmering reflections, the city whispers a lullaby, soft, timeless, and full of quiet grace. Allow yourself to be carried on this gentle current into dreams filled with peace and renewal. Under the deep velvet sky of Venice, the hidden waterways glisten like ribbons of silver, winding through the city in a silent, mesmerizing dance. Each canal is a quiet corridor where time slows, and the ancient spirit of Venice breathes gently beneath the stars. The architecture that borders these canals tells stories older than the city itself. Palazzos with faded frescoes, their stone foundations sinking slowly into the lagoon's soft embrace, ornate balconies veiled in ivy, and narrow walkways worn smooth by centuries of footsteps. Imagine yourself drifting slowly through one of these secret waterways, the water's surface a mirror reflecting the twinkling lights from lanterns and distant windows. The scent of salt mingles with the delicate fragrance of night-blooming jasmine, and the gentle splash of oars blends with the whisper of the evening breeze. Venice's hidden canals are places of mystery and serenity, where lovers have met in secret and artists have sought inspiration in the play of shadow and light. The quiet solitude offers a respite from the city's bustling squares, inviting contemplation and peaceful reflection. Yet these waterways are fragile, constantly challenged by the rise and fall of tides, the encroachment of modern life, and the ever-present threat of flooding. The city's caretakers labor with devotion, combining ancient knowledge and modern techniques to preserve this unique heritage. As you float deeper into this serene narrative, feel the cool night air envelop you, the soft rippling of water soothing your senses, and the gentle rhythm of the city's heartbeat guiding you toward calm and rest. Let the hidden waterways of Venice carry you on a gentle journey, where history and tranquility merge in a timeless embrace. Here, beneath the star-studded sky, find a sanctuary for your mind and a lullaby for your soul. As the night deepens in Venice, the hidden waterways shimmer quietly under the soft glow of lanterns and moonlight, weaving through the city like delicate threads of history and mystery. Each canal holds stories of centuries past, whispers of lives intertwined with water, stone, and time. Imagine gliding silently through a narrow, shadowed canal, the water's surface smooth and mirror-like, reflecting the intricate facades of ancient palaces. The cool night air carries the scent of salt and blooming flowers, mingling with the faint echo of a distant violin and the gentle lapping of water against weathered stone. These waterways have long been the backdrop to countless moments. Lovers meeting in secret, artists inspired by reflections, merchants transporting precious goods under the veil of darkness. They offer sanctuary and solitude in a city that thrives on movement and change. Venice's hidden canals also tell a story of resilience and adaptation. Built on wooden piles driven into the lagoon's soft mud, the city has endured floods, storms, and the slow passage of time through care, ingenuity, and an unyielding spirit. As you drift further into this serene journey, picture yourself enveloped by the gentle night, the soft splash of oars blending with the muted sounds of a city cradled by water. Feel the tranquility of Venice's secret waterways soothe your mind, quiet your thoughts, and guide you gently toward restful sleep. Let these ancient canals carry you on a peaceful voyage, a slow, soothing current that leads you through dreams filled with beauty, mystery, and calm. As the quiet night deepens over Venice, the hidden waterways continue their gentle, timeless flow, silent keepers of a city built on water, stone, and dreams. These canals, narrow and winding, carry with them the whispers of history, the breath of centuries, and the pulse of a city unlike any other. Venice is a marvel of resilience and artistry, where human ingenuity met the challenge of the sea and created a city that floats gracefully between earth and water. The wooden piles beneath the waterline anchor centuries of stories, of lives woven together by trade, love, art, and faith. Imagine yourself drifting slowly beneath an ancient bridge, the water cool and calm beneath you, lanterns casting shimmering light across weathered facades. The soft splash of oars and the distant toll of bells mingle with the night air, a lullaby carried by the gentle tides of the lagoon. The hidden waterways are more than passages. They are living memories, a delicate balance of nature and human touch. They have witnessed the rise and fall of empires, the quiet footsteps of lovers, and the laughter of children playing along the banks. Yet they remain fragile, forever at the mercy of tides, floods, and time's slow hand. Modern guardians work tirelessly to preserve these waterways, blending ancient wisdom with new technologies to protect Venice's unique heritage. As you settle into the calm embrace of this story, feel the gentle rhythm of water flowing beneath you, the soft glow of lantern light surrounding you like a warm shawl. Let the hidden waterways of Venice carry you gently into restful sleep, where dreams unfold softly beneath starry skies, and the city's quiet heart beats in peaceful harmony with the night. Rest now, cradled by water and history, carried on a timeless voyage through beauty, mystery, and tranquility. Sleep peacefully, wrapped in the serene embrace of Venice's hidden canals, a lullaby for the soul and a gentle guide to sweet dreams. We've just wandered through the timeless hush of the hidden gardens of Persian palaces, another quiet dream in our Boring History for Sleep series. Now, if you're ready, let's drift to distant forests and open plains, where words are carried on the wind, fading yet still echoing in the hearts that remember. It's time for the vanishing languages of native tribes. Long before borders were drawn across plains and forests, before railroads stitched the land into squares and lines, the continent breathed with 1,000 tongues. Each tribe spoke words shaped by river and mountain, by wind threading through pine branches, by snow melting on the high ridges. To listen then was to hear the land itself speaking, not in a single voice, but in a chorus, as shifting and alive as the herds that moved across the plains, or the salmon that turned rivers silver each spring. In the north, the people spoke words that tasted of cedar smoke and salt carried on the coastal winds. Their elders carved stories into tall cedar poles, each figure a reminder that language was more than just breath. It was memory made solid, rising into the sky so even the birds might learn its song. By the fire, grandmothers whispered words older than any book, teaching grandchildren the names of each shell found on the tide line, each berry hidden beneath ferns damp with rain. Further inland, where the grasslands unfurled to the horizon, another tongue shaped the stories told beneath buffalo robes and wide starry skies. Here, the words for river and trail, for fire and moon, curled from lips like threads of smoke, carrying the weight of generations who had walked these paths long before the first iron horses came screaming across the prairie. At night, the old ones spoke of how the bison were not just animals, but a kind of living word themselves, a promise that life could be carried forward on strong shoulders, that every hoofbeat pressed a story into the earth for children to read with their feet. To speak these languages was to belong. Each sound, each cadence, was like a stone set into a great mosaic. One piece alone might seem small, but together they formed a map that told you who you were, who your people had been, and what promises you owed to those yet unborn. A single word could carry the hush of snowfall on pine needles, the sharp crack of ice on a frozen river, the soft brush of a baby's hair against a mother's cheek in the flickering firelight. But even as the languages wove themselves into baskets and beadwork, into lullabies and hunting songs, they faced a world that did not always understand their quiet power. When settlers came, they brought new words, hard-edged and sharp, written in books carried in leather satchels that smelled of ink and salt. They built schools where the old tongues were silenced, where children sat on rough benches and stumbled over foreign sounds while their own names for river and sky, for coyote and rain, slipped away like mist at dawn. Still, in hidden places, the languages lingered. In the hush of lodges warmed by the glow of embers, elders bent close to young ears, their voices low so that the new masters might not hear. A single word passed from a grandfather's lips to a child's heart could keep the story alive for another day, another season, another winter when snow piled high against the lodge walls, but the language burned warm in the chest. Among the tribes of the Great Plains, stories were carried on drums and painted onto hides stretched tight over wooden frames. Each symbol was a syllable, each color a note in a song too old to ever truly vanish. Children learned to trace these symbols with small fingers, feeling the ridges of paint and the roughness of hide, whispering the words their hands spelled out. Reminders that the land itself could be read, that a river bend or a trail worn deep by hooves was as much a sentence as anything written in a book. Farther south, in pine forests and rocky canyons, words rose like birds at dawn, light and quick, echoing off stone walls that had held the people's breath for centuries. Here, a grandmother wove baskets tight enough to hold water, each weave a phrase, each pattern a proverb. The child at her knee repeated the words back to her, the rhythm steady as the beat of her heart. Outside, the wind moved through piñon trees, carrying the syllables across dry riverbeds and up into the star-thick sky. Some languages counted time, not in hours or minutes, but in how long it took to tell a story. A boy might ask his grandfather, "When will we leave for the hunting camp?" And the answer would not be a number, but a tale. When the moon is like a silver boat on the river's back, when you can hear the wolves singing to the trees. In this way, words taught patience, taught listening, taught that life unfolded not in lines and clocks, but in circles that turned with the seasons, again and again. In the hidden valleys where wildflowers painted the earth in spring, old songs rose at dawn like mist. A woman working the fields might hum a line taught by her mother, her grandmother, her grandmother's grandmother, a chain of sounds so fine yet so strong that no blade could sever it entirely. Each note called the world closer, asked the sun to rise gently, the rain to come when it was needed, the children to grow straight as young pines. Yet for all this quiet resilience, the winds of change blew hard. Words were lost when children were taken far from their fires and forests, forced to sit in rows under cold roofs, their mouths washed with soap when they spoke in the tongue of their people. Songs fell silent when old singers passed without a child beside them to listen. Stories curled into the shadows of minds too afraid to speak them aloud, waiting for a time when it might be safe to remember again. And still, in the hush before sleep, some words survived. A mother pressed her lips to her baby's hair, whispering the name of the wind that would guide him home if ever he was lost. An elder stirred embers back to life, tracing a symbol in the ash, telling the children to look, to see, to hold it close in dreams that could not be taken by any hand. So tonight, as you drift among these vanishing languages, listen for the syllables carried on the breeze through pine needles, the hush of snow falling on buffalo trails, now grown over with grass. Each word is a footprint left in the soft earth, a sign that the people were here, are here, and that their voices, though quiet, hum just beneath the surface, waiting to be spoken again. Follow now the soft trail deeper into the forests and plains, where words still linger like mist, clinging to riverbanks at dawn. In small villages tucked into mountain valleys, elders gather on worn blankets, their eyes half closed, their voices weaving threads of memory that hold entire worlds within them. They begin not with grand declarations, but with the smallest details. The word for the hush that comes before snowfall, for the way the pine needles bend under the weight of the first frost, for the hollow echo of an owl's call drifting through bare branches at dusk. These words slip from tongue to ear, passing from old to young, carrying with them the shape of the world as it once was, and might yet be again if someone remembers how to speak it. Beside the elders, children sit cross-legged, their chins tucked into small palms, eyes wide in the firelight that flickers against the lodge walls. Outside, the wind rattles the hides stretched tight across wooden frames, but inside, the air is thick with the scent of cedar, and the hush of stories that have traveled countless generations to arrive here tonight. One elder lifts his hand and traces a symbol in the air, a simple curve, a small line, the memory of a bird in flight. He speaks its name, a sound so soft it seems to melt into the crackle of the fire. The children repeat it back, stumbling, then finding the right shape in their mouths, the right music in their breath. A small laugh rises when a boy gets it wrong, but the elder's smile is wide, patient, because he knows that each syllable planted tonight may grow roots that reach far beyond his lifetime. Beyond the circle of light, in the forest where shadows move like thoughts, hunters slip between the trees, their steps silent on beds of fallen needles. They speak to each other in low murmurs, using words that turn the shape of a landscape into a map. A hidden hollow where deer bed down, a narrow gap in the ridgeline where the wind changes its tune. These are words that do not exist in other tongues, words born of watching the same bend in the river for 100 seasons, of reading the tracks pressed into mud at dawn when frost still curls around each blade of grass. Sometimes the hunters pause, crouching low to rest in the hush before the sun crests the tree line. They lean close, sharing old jokes and short chants that praise the spirit of the deer they seek, a promise that when they take life, they do so with words that bind them to the land, to the breath of the animal, to the heartbeat beneath their own ribs. Without these words, the hunt would be empty, a task stripped of its soul, the story lost like an arrow loosed into a dark sky. Farther east, where rivers widen into lakes that gleam like sheets of beaten silver under the moon, fishermen cast their nets while humming songs that stitch water and sky together. Their language holds different kinds of rain, the soft drizzle that coaxes new shoots from the earth, the pounding storm that shakes the canoes tied to the shore, the cold, steady mist that wraps the shoulders of an old man paddling alone before dawn. When they return with nets heavy with fish, they speak blessings over each catch, naming the water that gave it, the reeds that sheltered it, the spirit that guided it into the waiting net. Along the shore, grandmothers bend low, weaving reeds into baskets that will hold the day's catch. Their hands move without hurry, each knot a syllable, each tight coil a line of a poem, unspoken yet deeply understood. They teach the youngest how to twist the strands just so, to listen for the snap of a reed too dry, to murmur small thanks to the marsh that offered its gift. As they work, they sing, not loudly, but with a hum that drifts through the cattails, carried on the wind to the water's edge where frogs croak in the dusk. In villages scattered along mountain trails, the people have words for paths that disappear under snow, for the echo of a call that comes back different when the hills are thick with mist. They speak of the hush that falls when snow blankets the world, a hush so deep you can almost hear the stories waiting beneath it, breathing slow, waiting to be spoken again when spring melt brings the rivers roaring back to life. Old songs live here too, prayers sung for safe passage through mountain passes, for warmth when winter's claws press too close. These songs hold instructions, where to find the herbs that ease a cough, how to mend a tear in a hide blanket, how to soothe a restless child when the wind moans through the gaps in the lodge walls. To outsiders, these songs might sound like simple melodies, but each line is a verse of knowledge, a piece of history stitched into tune so it cannot be easily forgotten. Yet not all stories live in words alone. Sometimes they are painted on hides stretched over bending willow frames, horses running in lines that speak of journeys taken by moonlight, rivers curling through patterns of blue and white, each swirl a memory of water tasted and crossed. Sometimes they are carved into bark or painted in ochre on stone walls hidden in canyons, marks that do not speak aloud but hum quietly to those who know how to see. A single handprint, pressed into red earth, can say, "I was here, we were here." We carried our words in our bones, in our breath, in the hush that waits behind each heartbeat. The children who gather close to these painted walls trace the lines with small fingers, eyes wide in the dim glow of a single oil lamp. They ask questions in the old tongue. Who made this? Why here? And an elder's voice answers with patient rhythm, turning lines into stories, stories into lessons, lessons into dreams that they will carry back to their blankets when the fire burns low. In this way, the vanishing languages breathe on, stitched into bark and hide, woven into baskets and nets, humming through songs that drift like mist across rivers and hills. And for now, in this hush, they live, waiting for each small voice to pick them up again, to cradle each word like an ember cupped against the dark. Deeper still, beyond the trails where the pines give way to wide, open plains, the languages of the people drift like smoke over tall grass, faint but never truly gone. To walk these lands at dawn is to feel the presence of words hidden in every hollow where the wind bends the stalks, in every shallow bend of a creek that remembers the footsteps of those who came long before fences carved the earth into grids. In these plains, stories once rose with the bison herds that thundered across the horizon, like living rivers of muscle and breath. Each tribe carried its own words for the great animal, names that spoke not just of what the bison looked like, but of what it meant: the warmth of hide against cold winds, the promise of meat through deep snow, the rhythm of life that turned hunger into feasts, scarcity into ceremony. To lose these words would be to lose the trail back to the fireside, where elders first taught young hunters how to read hoofprints pressed deep in soft earth. By evening, when the sky blushed pink and orange and the last calls of birds slipped away, families gathered in wide circles around low-burning fires. The stories shared here were not simply told. They were performed with hands and breath, with songs that made the children's eyes grow wide and the old ones nod along, remembering the cadence of their own youth. A single word could carry a whole season within it: the time when the rivers broke open with snowmelt, the hush that fell when herds moved south ahead of a bitter freeze, the quiet morning when too few hides were gathered to see the people through the longest nights. Sometimes, as the fire crackled low, an elder would lift a handful of ash and scatter it into the flames. He would say a word that meant to begin again, and all who heard it would feel something settle in their bones, a reminder that each cycle turned back toward life, that nothing truly ended while someone still carried the syllables on their tongue. The younger ones, wrapped in blankets stitched with patterns that told stories of rivers and trails, leaned close to each other. They whispered the words back and forth, shaping them in the dark so they would not slip away when morning came. In this way, the old tongues traveled forward, not shouted, but carried in soft breaths between beating hearts. In other corners of the plains, songs rose with the wind that rattled the long grass. A lone figure might stand at the crest of a hill, a drum held tight against his chest, the steady thrum echoing the pulse of his ancestors who once stood in the same place, calling down thunder and rain with chants that blurred the line between man and sky. The words of these chants wove the people to the land, reminding the clouds to gather, the seeds to break open, the sun to return when the time was right. Down near winding rivers, women knelt beside shallow pools, washing hides and tools worn smooth from years of use. Their laughter mingled with the low rush of water, and in their talk lived words for each stone, each plant, each bend where the fish rested in the cool current. No book holds these words. They live only in the mouths of those who work with wet hands, who speak to the water as if it were an old friend who might carry the songs away, but always brings them back in the hush of its flowing. Children played on the banks, their voices rising in games that turned learning into song. One would point at the sky, naming each bird by the shape of its wings, the tilt of its flight. Another would scoop mud from the river's edge, chanting the words that asked the earth to be soft under their feet when they ran toward the place where the cattails grew thick and green. At night, in shelters made warm with buffalo hides and woven mats, families rested side by side. An elder's voice drifted through the dark, telling of how once, when the world was still young, the animals spoke in the same tongue as the people. It was only when the people grew careless with their words, speaking harshly, forgetting to thank the deer or the owl, that the animals chose to keep their voices hidden among the rustle of leaves and the hiss of grass underfoot. But even now, the elder whispered, if one listens closely enough, the old words can still be heard when the wind slips through a stand of cottonwoods at dusk. In the soft space between sleep and waking, these words root themselves in the children's dreams. They carry the hush of the plains, the distant echo of hooves, the promise that a single syllable, held carefully, can keep a whole people alive. When the children wake, they do not always remember the stories in full, but the feeling remains. A warmth in the chest, a quiet in the mind, a sense that they belong to something that cannot be fenced or paved over. Older voices sometimes worry that the new roads and towns, the schools that teach other tongues, will wash these ancient words away for good. But in the hush before dawn, when the fires burn down to embers and the land lies wide and patient, you might still hear them, those syllables older than any map, carried on the back of a prairie breeze. They drift from the lips of an old woman humming to the fire, from a boy standing alone in the grass, testing each word on his tongue as if tasting the truth of who he is and where his footsteps belong. As dawn breaks across the wide plains and forest edges, the old words drift with the early mist, clinging to branches, slipping through blades of grass still heavy with dew. In a village perched near a river bend, the first thin line of wood smoke curls into the pale sky. Inside a small lodge, a grandmother stirs a pot over the fire, her voice a low hum that slides between song and story, wrapping the sleeping children in the warmth of words spoken softly for generations. She does not shout these stories. There is no need. Her voice knows how to carry through the hush of dawn, weaving between the crackle of firewood and the sigh of wind brushing the hide walls. She speaks the names of things as they are and as they were, the creek that changes course after the snow melt, the old path where berries grow sweetest in late summer, the clearing where deer return even when the world feels changed and strange. A child stirs, eyes blinking open to the glow of embers. He listens without fully waking, absorbing the shapes and textures of words he will someday repeat to his own children. He does not yet know that each word carries weight, that when he whispers the name of the creek, he invites the water to remember him too. Outside, the village wakes slowly. Women gather at the edge of the river, feet pressing into cold mud as they rinse baskets woven from reeds gathered the summer before. They trade stories between them in a language that curls around their laughter like steam rising from warm water. One word for the way light glints off moving water, another for the feeling of clay under nails, another for the hush that settles when the river's current pauses just before turning fast again. These words live nowhere but here, not in books, not on signs nailed to trees, but in the backs of throats warmed by memory and shared breath. Nearby, a group of elders sits in a circle under a grove of birch trees, their backs straight against trunks older than any map. They speak of days when the village gathered under these same branches, heads tilted back to watch the leaves shiver in the wind. They speak of how the language held every season inside it. How to say spring was to name the return of certain birds, the smell of thawed earth, the sound of boots squelching through the first mud after the snows retreated. No single word in another tongue could hold all that. They know this, and so they speak the old syllables again and again, pressing them into the air so that even if no one else listens, the birch trees will remember. A little further down the trail, a boy walks with his grandfather toward a patch of forest where traps are set for rabbits. The boy asks questions the way only the young do, too many, tumbling over each other like stones in a river. The old man answers patiently, never in a rush, letting the words find their place between the bird calls and the crunch of twigs underfoot. He names each print they find: fox, raccoon, the small claw marks of a bird searching for seeds. He teaches the boy the right word for each, not just the sound, but the shape of the word in the mouth, the pause that comes before it, the hush that follows. To name something correctly, he says, is to respect its spirit. To speak the language well is to keep the bond unbroken. They kneel together beside a small snare, checking the loop of rawhide, the way it sits in the shadow of a fallen log. The old man whispers, thanks to the land for its gift, even when the trap is empty. The boy repeats the phrase, tongue tripping once, then settling into the right groove, like a river finding its channel again after a long, dry season. Back in the village, when dusk comes and the air turns cool, families gather near the largest fire pit, sparks rising into the twilight like fireflies. Children's faces glow in the flickering light as elders begin their tales. Some of trickster spirits who took the shape of foxes, others of heroes who walked so far their footsteps carved valleys into the hillsides. Each story carries words too subtle to translate, small turns of phrase that make the listeners laugh or sigh in understanding. No two tellings are exactly alike. With each voice, each retelling, the words grow new leaves, branching in ways the ancestors could never have written down, but would surely smile to see. Near the edge of the gathering, young mothers rock babies wrapped tight in soft fur. They hum lullabies in the old tongue, verses that hold no fear of the dark, but call sleep like a trusted friend. Each note, each whispered phrase, plants a seed that might stay buried for years before pushing its roots deep into a child's memory. And maybe someday, when the world feels wide and strange, that same grown child will hear the wind slip through birch leaves and find the right word waiting, warm and unbroken inside their chest. Travelers who come through these lands sometimes hear only silence, where once they might have heard 100 dialects carried on the wind. They see road signs in foreign alphabets, storefronts named in borrowed words. They do not hear the low hum of stories told at dawn, the soft syllables traded between women bent over baskets, the questions of a boy echoed back by a patient elder walking a hidden trail. Yet if they stayed a little longer, if they pressed an ear to the earth or stood quietly among the birch trees, they might catch it. The hush that hums with old syllables, the language that clings to river bends and deer paths, the words that breathe in the spaces between firelight and shadow, waiting, always waiting, to be spoken again. Far from the well-trodden trails, deep in the shadow of ancient forests, where pine needles muffle each footstep, the old words live on like seeds hidden beneath winter snow, waiting for warmth, for breath, for the right ear to listen. Here, in villages that cling to riverbanks and misty glades, the language weaves itself into every task, every gesture, every hush that settles when dawn breaks over the treetops. At the edge of a clearing, smoke drifts lazily from the chimney of a small wooden house. Inside, a woman sits cross-legged on a woven mat, her fingers moving in quiet rhythm as she stitches bright beads into a strip of soft leather. Each bead holds a word, a color that means sunrise after the long darkness, a pattern that whispers of a family line, an echo of a story told by her grandmother under a night sky thick with stars. She does not speak these words aloud, but they hum beneath her breath, slipping into the beadwork so that anyone who knows how to read with their fingertips can feel the story pressed into the tiny shapes of glass and stone. A child leans close, eyes keen, watching each bead fall into place. The woman does not turn him away. Instead, she explains the meaning behind each color, her voice low and patient. She tells him the old word for bear, the one that means more than fur and claws, but strength that stands still in the face of wind. She teaches him how to say river in the dialect of her mother's people, a word that flows from the mouth like water sliding around smooth stones, never stopping, always finding its way. Outside, a man moves among the pine trunks, a basket slung low across his back. He searches for mushrooms that push up through damp soil, for roots hidden beneath mossy stones, for berries that cling stubbornly to thorny branches long after the first frost. With each plant he finds, he speaks its name, not in the clipped syllables of traders who came later, but in the round, rolling sounds his father taught him when they walked these same woods together. He thanks the plant with a word that has no equal in any other language, a word that means gratitude woven with respect, given without expectation of return. Sometimes he pauses, placing a palm flat against the rough bark of an old cedar. He hums a few notes of a song so old its true beginning is lost to time. The tune carries through the trunks, brushing the ears of birds hidden high in the branches, settling into the soft earth where roots carry secrets deeper than any path cut by human feet. In a clearing not far away, young girls gather to collect branches for the cooking fire. Their braids swing against their shoulders as they bend and rise, chatter spilling between them in the old tongue that tastes of cedar smoke and wild mint. One girl stops, listening. She tilts her head to catch the faint drumbeat that drifts from the main lodge where the elders prepare for a night of stories and songs. She smiles, repeating the rhythm on her thigh, letting the beat travel through her small bones so she will remember it when she grows older, when it is her turn to lead the song. At dusk, the people come together under the low roof of the great lodge. Animal hides cover the walls, each one marked with symbols that speak without sound. A spiral for journeys begun but never ended, a crooked line for rivers crossed and returned to, a circle that means all things come back in time. The fire in the center flickers softly, its smoke rising through a hole carved high into the roof, carrying whispers of prayers into the cold night sky. Elders take their places, their shadows tall and still against the lodge's curved walls. When they speak, the air seems to lean closer, listening for the shape of words older than the oldest tree outside. One elder tells of a time when people and animals spoke the same language, when fox and man could trade secrets by the bend of an ear, the flick of a tail. Another speaks of how the first words were not spoken at all, but dreamed, pulled from the hush of sleep like threads, carried into the waking world on the breath of morning. The children's eyes shine in the half-light. They repeat the harder words under their breath, testing them like stones rolled smooth in a riverbed. They do not write them down. There is no need. The words live best in the mouth, on the tongue, warm against the roof of the mouth, alive in the spaces between heartbeat and breath. Outside the lodge, the forest hums with its own soft language. An owl calls from a high branch, its hoot rounded with the hush of falling snow. A fox slips through the underbrush, the pad of its paws pressing small stories into the damp earth, tales that will wash away with the next rain but never truly be forgotten. If you listen, truly listen, you might hear the old words drifting in the wind that moves through the cedar boughs, in the crackle of ice forming along the creek's edge, in the distant drumbeat that hums just beneath the sound of your own breath. Some worry that when the old ones are gone, these words will vanish into the dark, taking the stories and songs with them. But the people here know better. They know that as long as one child sits close to the fire, eyes wide, mouth moving in quiet imitation of an elder's tongue, the language lives on, hidden in lullabies, stitched into beadwork, pressed into the bark of trees and the hush of snow that falls while the world sleeps. So tonight, as you drift with these echoes, remember, no word is ever truly lost if it is spoken even once, if it is carried like a small flame from one generation to the next. Listen for it now, in the hush that settles behind your eyelids, in the hush that holds the heartbeat of a forest that remembers every footstep, every whisper, every syllable waiting to be spoken again. Farther into the vast quiet of the plains and forests, where roads thin to narrow trails and the echo of the past lingers beneath each footstep, the old words wait like seeds beneath frost-hardened ground. They hide in the spaces between stones and streams, in the hush of reeds swaying at the edges of forgotten marshes, in the soft curve of hills that have carried footsteps for centuries without ever complaining. In a village pressed close to the shoulder of a wide, slow river, an elder sits cross-legged at the edge of a small fire. His eyes are lined with years of smoke and wind and memory, but his voice is steady as the embers that pop and sigh in front of him. Around him, children gather, some leaning against their mothers, some curled into blankets stitched with stories. When he speaks, his words drift out like feathers caught in a slow breeze, settling gently into small ears that might not yet understand every syllable, but feel the warmth of them all the same. He tells them the word for the river, not just river, but the water that remembers. A word that holds within it the bend where salmon turn each spring, the deep pools where turtles wait for the sun, the cold hush that hums beneath thick ice in the heart of winter. He explains that to speak this word is to remind the river that the people see it, thank it, promise to keep its path clean so that its voice will never be silenced by the rush of careless feet. Nearby, young women gather cattails along the muddy banks, fingers red from the cold. They speak quietly to each other, the old words slipping between laughter and song. Each cattail pulled from the water will be dried and woven into mats that cover the floors of lodges, where these same words will be whispered for years to come. When they work, they hum a tune that their mothers sang when they were no bigger than the cattails themselves. A tune without beginning or end, like the river that feeds their village, like the syllables that feed their spirits. In another corner of the settlement, hunters return from the forest with bundles of branches and the faint scent of pine clinging to their clothes. They kneel near the lodge entrance, cleaning their knives with careful strokes. One lifts a piece of flint and turns it over in his palm, speaking its name softly. A word that means sharpness that gives life, but also stone that remembers the shape of hands. To say the word is to honor every blade struck from rock by ancestors whose footprints faded long before fences rose around these lands. Inside the lodge, mothers braid the hair of daughters sitting quiet between their knees. With each twist, they murmur lines of old songs, words that carry blessings for safe journeys, for long lives, for laughter that rings clear, even when the wind howls against the lodge walls. The girls close their eyes, feeling the pull of hair and language together, a rhythm older than the lines traced on any map. In the hush of evening, families gather for the winter meal. Baskets woven from river reeds hold dried berries, strips of smoked fish, corn ground fine and sweet. Children pass each bowl along the circle, repeating the words for each gift. Berry that means more than fruit. It means the promise of summer's return. Fish that means the river's generosity. The pull of line and paddle in cold dawn. Each word is a thank you folded into breath. No one writes these prayers down. They live best on tongues, drifting like sparks from fire to sky. When the plates are cleared and the moon lifts her pale face above the trees, the drummers begin. Their hands strike the stretched hides, a steady heartbeat that calls the old words out of hiding. Elders sing in voices cracked and warm, syllables tumbling one after another like pebbles rolling in a stream. They sing of how once the animals spoke back, how the wolves answered the hunters with laughter hidden in their howls, how the bears taught the people which roots to dig when hunger pressed too close. Some lines of the song speak of loss too, of children taken far from their mother tongues, of words beaten back into silence inside the walls of schools. Built to strip away the hush that carried the people through centuries of winter and war. But even these lines hold a quiet defiance. For each verse that mourns what was stolen, another rises to praise what still grows in the hush between drum beats, words carried in secret, tucked into the lining of old coats, hidden behind eyes that refuse to forget. Outside the lodge, the forest listens. A light snow begins to fall, catching in the low branches, each flake a tiny promise that spring will come, that seeds buried deep will break open when warmth returns. Between the drumming, an owl calls from a cedar limb. Its hoot slips through the night, winding through the lodge smoke, weaving with the elders' songs until it sounds like a word half remembered, half dreamed, waiting to be spoken again by a child awake in the dark. And somewhere along the frozen river, the water hums against its banks. Not loudly, but in the same hush that once carried 1,000 dialects on the wind. For though books may close and schools may crumble, the river's voice will not vanish so long as one heart remembers. The syllables that call it by its true name, the water that remembers. So the language flows on, one word, one song, one breath at a time. Deeper still into the hush of forest paths and windswept plains, the old words breathe through moss-covered stones and the soft hush of pine needles falling to earth. They wait for footsteps that tread gently, for voices that remember how to speak without shouting, for the slow patience of lips that taste each syllable like sweet rain after drought. In a settlement where the river's bend cradles a small grove of ancient cottonwoods, dusk settles with a sigh. Lanterns flicker behind thin hide walls, and smoke curls up to meet the first stars peeking through to bare branches. Inside one lodge, a circle of elders gathers once more, their knees pressed close to the warmth of the central hearth. No one carries paper or pen. The only pages needed here are the memories behind old eyes, the steady drumbeat of a heart that knows its place in a line that stretches back farther than any map can show. One woman, her hair silver as the frost clinging to low grass outside, leans forward. Her hands draw shapes in the air, loops and lines that once meant path, return, journey taken again. She speaks the word for trail, but it is not just a single track through snow or dust. It holds the echo of moccasins pressing the same bend in the earth season after season, of stories left behind for those who follow, of stones stacked in small piles to mark the way when the wind erases footprints by dawn. A young girl leans closer, wide-eyed, her small fingers mirroring the elder's movements. She whispers the word, testing its shape in her mouth. Her voice trembles at first, then finds its weight, slipping from her tongue to her bones the way a river slides under a frozen crust of ice. A smile passes around the circle, not of pride, but of quiet certainty that the word, like the girl, will endure if tended with care. Outside the lodge, the hush deepens. A young man stands at the tree line, bow in hand, eyes tracing the faint tracks of a deer that slipped through the clearing at dawn. He hums a word his father taught him, a word for listen well, a reminder that the forest speaks, if one knows how to hear. The snow creaks beneath his boots, but he moves lightly, the word shaping his breath into a promise, that he will take only what is needed, and that every arrow loosed carries a prayer tucked into its flight. Near the river's bend, two women kneel by the water's edge, dipping baskets into the icy shallows. They speak back and forth, voices threading between the river's murmur and the soft scrape of woven reeds brushing stone. Their words hold names for fish that swim just beneath the surface, for the slow swirl of eddies that gather silt into shapes like sleeping turtles. One woman sings a line that her grandmother sang when she was small, a song that asks the river to remember its promise. Carry us, feed us, keep our words safe under your ice when winter presses close. Children dart between the trees, chasing each other with laughter, muffled by mittens pulled over tiny fingers. They shout words that do not always make sense to the visitors who sometimes come through the village. Words that twist and skip like rabbit tracks, light and quick. But each name called out, for snow, for wind, for the small footprints that vanish by morning, ties them back to the land in a way no classroom lesson can teach. Later, when the sun has slipped behind the hills and the hush of night spreads like a blanket, the drummers gather once more. Their palms press rhythms into the stretched hides, each beat a reminder that language is not just spoken, but felt, pulsing through the ribs, anchoring the body to the story of who they are. A boy sits near the drummers, knees pulled tight to his chest, eyes reflecting the glow of the fire. He watches the oldest drummer lean close, murmuring words that tumble like water over smooth stones. Words for remember, for keep this safe, for share when the time is right. The boy nods, blinking slow, the beat sinking into his bones, the syllables lodging in the soft corners of his mind where dreams bloom. Beyond the circle of flame and song, the forest breathes in rhythm with the people gathered at its edge. An owl shifts on its branch, feathers rustling against bark older than the first spoken word. Somewhere deeper in the dark, a fox pauses mid-step, nose lifted, ears turned toward the heartbeat of drums carried on the wind. The hush holds all of it. The stir of fur and snow, the creak of ice as the river sighs under its frozen skin, the hush that says, "You are not alone." These old languages were never meant to be locked in books or pinned down by ink. They live best in the open air, drifting from tongue to ear, carried in the warmth of a mother's breath, the hush of an elder's palm resting on a child's crown. They live in footprints pressed into fresh snow, in the scent of pine smoke caught in braids, in the way stories slide into the night like small embers waiting for the next hand to cup them close. So tonight, as the last drumbeat fades and the embers settle into ash, know that the words do not sleep. They wait beneath your ribs, beneath the soil frozen hard outside the lodge walls, beneath the river's hush as it slips under moonlight. They wait for breath, for patience, for one small voice to whisper them back into the world, syllables older than stone, older than snow, older than any border drawn by kipao hands that forgot how to listen. Far from the places marked by highways and fences, where the moon rises unbothered by city lights and the river still hums secrets beneath its frozen crust, the old words drift like snowflakes, each one unique, each one fragile, yet together forming a hush strong enough to blanket an entire world. In a small settlement wrapped tight against the winter wind, families gather once more within lodges made warm by pine logs and the steady, glowing heart of an old fire. Here, stories are not simply told. They are folded into the shape of daily life. A grandmother sits on a low stool, her gnarled hands weaving strips of cedar bark into a basket meant to carry roots when spring returns. At her feet, a girl watches, eyes following the steady rhythm of her grandmother's fingers. The old woman speaks softly, letting the language slip through her teeth like warm tea. The word for basket that also means gift. The word for root that means promise buried deep until the thaw. Each word ties the child to the land, to the breath of trees, to the hush of soil that dreams under snow. In another corner of the lodge, boys crouch near an elder who sketches symbols in the ash beside the fire. His fingertip moves in slow arcs, tracing shapes that look like river bends, like fox tracks pressed into fresh snow, like the ripple of wind through grass tall enough to swallow a child whole. He does not name the symbols in the tongue of traders who came later, but in the old tongue that holds. The way a path curves to avoid a sacred stone, or how a bend in the river can mean return, just as much as it means journey. The boys echo the words back to him, their voices soft at first, then stronger when the elder nods his approval. One boy laughs when he stumbles, but the elder only smiles, his finger tapping a fresh swirl in the ash, a reminder that mistakes are just footprints, proof that you are still moving along the path. Outside, the wind picks up, rattling the hide walls, slipping in through tiny gaps to kiss cheeks flushed with firelight. No one moves to hush the wind. It too is part of the language, the oldest part, some say, for it carries the voices of ancestors who once spoke without words at all, who read the swirl of leaves and the drift of smoke to know when to gather, when to travel, when to rest. At the edge of the village, the river lies under its winter skin of ice. A young woman kneels on the bank, a hole cut neat through the frozen surface. She dips a carved wooden cup into the dark water, lifting it to her lips and whispering a word for thanks, that taste of cedar and breath and snowmelt. She speaks to the river as she would to a beloved elder, asking it to carry her words beneath the ice, to keep them safe until spring breaks the surface open again. Behind her, a stand of birch trees creaks in the cold, their pale trunks glowing faintly in the moon's gentle touch. These trees have their own words, too. A word for the rustle of branches when the wind changes direction, another for the hush of bark peeling away in thin, papery strips. Children play among these trunks in warmer months, pressing their palms flat against the cool bark, whispering secrets and syllables their parents taught them, secrets they hope the birches will hold until they are grown enough to remember them without fear. In the lodge, the drummers gather once more. Their hands strike the hides stretched over bent wood, the thump steady as the heartbeats of those who listen. A woman lifts her voice above the drum, singing a line so old that no one recalls who first shaped its sounds. The words speak of winter nights, when the world narrows to the circle of firelight and the hush beyond, when each family leans closer together to keep the language warm. The children hum along, some half asleep, heads nodding gently against their mother's shoulders. Now and then, an elder leans down to brush a hand across a small forehead, whispering a word for dream that means more than what the mind sees behind closed eyes. It means safe passage, whispered promise, the road home when you cannot see the trail. Beyond the walls, the stars listen. They too have names in this old tongue, not the cold numbers of astronomers, but words that tie them to stories about the first hunters, the first fires, the first promise that the people would never walk alone so long as they could lift their eyes to the night sky. Sometimes, travelers arrive at this village, strangers wrapped in thick coats, their boots crunching through snow too deep to guess what lies beneath. They ask questions in another language, their voices loud, as if the hush here needs shaking awake. They look around and see only small lodges, drifting smoke, footprints that disappear into the forest. They do not hear the hush humming between drum beats, the syllables pressed into the space between mother and child, the small, patient words carried on the river under its ice. But for those who sit close enough to the fire, who let their breath slow to match the hush, something opens. They feel the warmth of a word that never needed paper or ink to survive, a word that lives in the curve of a basket, the hum of the drum, the hush of wind threading through birch branches that will remember every promise whispered into their bark. So tonight, as you drift with these stories, know this: the old languages do not sleep. They rest beneath snowdrifts, tucked into the roots of trees that stand watch through 1,000 winters. They wait in the hollow of a cup carved for river water, in the soft syllables of a song sung when the drums fall silent. And when the ice cracks and the rivers run free again, these words will rise, flowing from mouth to mouth, a hush turned into a living breath once more. In the deep folds of the valley, where the pine forests open into meadows hidden from the noise of roads and fences, the old words linger like the last snow on the north side of a hill, quiet, patient, waiting for a warm breath to wake them. When dawn breaks here, it does not come with alarms or the blare of passing trucks. It comes with the soft rustle of deer stepping through frost-tipped grass, with the crackle of a small fire coaxed to life in the hush before the first birds open their throats to sing. Inside a round lodge tucked close to the tree line, a circle of women gather with baskets woven from willow reeds soaked in spring water. Their hands move without rush, pulling slender strands through weathered palms, fingers deft from years of teaching bark how to bend to their will. Each movement hums with old words: the name for the first bend of a basket's rim, the word for the crossing point where strength lives, the phrase for the final knot that holds the spirit of the work together long after the weaver's hands grow still. A girl sits at her mother's knee, mimicking the twist and pull, her small voice repeating each word in a quiet chant. Outside, a wind sighs through the branches, carrying her syllables into the hush beneath the trees. Perhaps the wind will remember them, pressing them into the bark of an old cedar, tucking them beneath the moss that blankets the stones lining the creek's edge. For even if the basket one day unravels, the words that shaped it remain woven in the land itself. Near the lodge, an elder walks the edge of the meadow, his shadow long against the snow that clings stubbornly to the shaded hollows. He pauses where animal tracks cross the soft earth, bending low to touch each mark. He whispers the word for fox, a word that does not mean only the creature with the brush of a tail and clever eyes, but also means teacher, cousin, story slipped into fur and paw print. He closes his eyes, listening for the hush that answers back, the hush that holds stories too shy to speak themselves aloud. Children follow behind him in a line, their steps light, their eyes wide as they match each track to a word, each word to the small, bright truth that every footfall on this land has a name worth remembering. One boy kneels near a burrow, his fingers tracing the edge where earth meets furrowed roots. He murmurs a word for safe place, tasting it on his tongue like a secret promise, that the land will hold him, if only he remembers how to speak to it in the way his grandfather taught him. In the warmth of midday, the families gather near the river's edge, where the ice has begun to break in slow, steady sighs. The water gurgles under slabs that crack and shift, revealing ribbons of clear melt that carry the memory of mountains down to the waiting meadows. A woman kneels at the bank, dipping her hands into the chill, lifting drops to her lips. She breathes a word for life that shivers down her spine, the same word her ancestors spoke when the first thaw broke winter's grip, when the river's voice promised another season of green shoots and fresh roots. Nearby, children skip flat stones across the open pools, their laughter bright against the river's hush. They call each stone by an old name before they throw it, one for travel far, another for return, another for remind us where we come from. Each splash is more than a ripple. It is a small ceremony that tells the river, we are still here, we remember. When shadows grow long and the sky turns the color of ash and rose, the people return to their lodges. A grandfather sits by the fire, feeding it small pieces of pine that crackle and spark like distant stars. In his lap lies a drum, the hide stretched tight and worn soft, where many hands have pressed their stories into its surface. He taps it with gentle fingers, a heartbeat steady and patient. He begins a story that drifts between spoken word and song, a tale of how the first words came to the people on the back of a coyote's laughter, how the wind caught each syllable and tucked it into caves and creeks, and the hollows of old trees so that no storm or war could ever wash them away completely. The children lean close, the drum's hush blending with the fire's pop and the sigh of night slipping in through the gaps between hide and pole. Outside, the forest listens. Owls call softly from high branches, their voices like distant drums echoing the ones inside the lodge. A fox slips through the underbrush, its paws leaving quick marks in the softening snow, each print a word pressed into earth that the morning sun will read when it climbs the ridge. Those who fear the languages will vanish forever do not know the patience of trees, the memory of rivers, the way the wind gathers syllables and tucks them into the crook of a sleeping child's neck. Words do not die so easily when they have been carried this way, passed from mouth to mouth, dream to dream, heartbeat to heartbeat. So tonight, as the families drift into sleep, the hush holds them close. Within that hush, the old words circle like embers that refuse to go cold. They settle in the small corners of the mind, waiting for dawn to open new mouths, for small voices to shape them again. And when the river runs free with spring melt, when the baskets carry fresh roots, when a fox pauses to listen for a name whispered into the wind, the languages will rise, soft but strong, ready to remind the world that they were never truly lost. In the final quiet corners of the land where the old words still linger, the hush grows deeper, a soft blanket woven from centuries of breath, song, and memory. Here, beneath skies wide enough to hold every star ever named in the old tongue, the language lives in the smallest details. The curve of a river, the fold of a blanket, the gentle brush of a mother's hand against a child's hair. At the heart of a village nestled between pine and prairie, an elder sits beneath a cedar bough, heavy with snow. His voice is low and steady as he speaks a word for home, not just a house or a place on a map, but the living heart that holds a people together through cold winters and warm summers alike. He tells stories that stretch beyond his own lifetime, of ancestors who sang the first songs under moonlight, of children who learned to speak the language in the lullabies sung beside fires that burned bright and true. Around him, families gather close, their faces glowing in the flicker of oil lamps and the warm breath of shared stories. Children listen, eyes wide, letting the old words fall gently into their hearts, planting seeds that will one day bloom into the songs and stories they will pass to those who come after. The land itself seems to lean in, listening for the sounds that tie past to present, memory to dream. A river murmurs softly nearby, carrying the promise of new life beneath its ice in the spring thaw. The wind stirs the branches of ancient trees, their needles brushing together in a hush that echoes the gentle rhythm of a heartbeat. Even when the voices grow quiet in the village, when schools teach other tongues and roads bring new faces with new words, the old language is never truly gone. It lives in the hush between breaths, in the space where a mother hums a forgotten lullaby, in the patterns stitched into a child's blanket, in the silent understanding between a hunter and the land that has always spoken to him. And though the world changes, sometimes too fast, sometimes too loud, the language waits. It waits like water held beneath winter ice, patient, ready to flow again when the sun's warmth returns. It waits in every soft word whispered beside a fire, in every story passed from hand to hand, in every moment when silence is full of memory and hope. So as you drift now, carried on the hush of these vanishing languages, know that you carry them too, not just in words, but in the quiet spaces between them, in the breath that holds their promise alive. Listen for them in the wind, in the ripple of rivers, in the slow turning of seasons. And remember that a language is never truly lost when it lives in the heart, waiting to be spoken again, one soft syllable at a time. We've just come to the close of the Vanishing Languages of Native Tribes, a quiet journey through whispers and breath. Now let's turn the page and step back in time to a land of sun and stone, where ancient drums once echoed through towering temples, and the air was thick with the scent of smoke and celebration. Welcome to the Forgotten Festivals of the Aztecs, here in our Boring History for Sleep series. Long before the city streets we know today rose from the earth, long before the hum of cars and chatter filled the air, the land where the Aztecs lived was alive with the beat of drums and the flicker of firelight. The Aztec people celebrated life in ways both grand and subtle, weaving their stories into festivals that marked the rhythms of sun and moon, planting and harvest, war and peace. These festivals were more than just gatherings. They were the heartbeat of a civilization, a way to honor the gods, the seasons, and the unseen forces that held the world together. Imagine a sprawling city of temples carved from stone, their steps worn smooth by countless feet. At the center, great pyramids reached toward the sky, catching the sun's first rays in golden light, casting long shadows that stretched across plazas where thousands would gather. The air was thick with the scent of copal incense, sweet and sharp, rising in curling smoke that braided with the morning breeze. As the sun climbed higher, drums began to sound. Their deep, steady rhythms echoed through the city, calling people from homes and markets, from fields and riversides, drawing them to the great squares where celebration was about to begin. Men and women dressed in bright feathers, painted skins, and woven cloth moved like living color against the gray stone backdrop. Children darted between legs, their laughter weaving through the chant and song, their small voices rising in simple hymns learned at their mother's knees. These festivals were tied to the sacred calendar, a complex system of days and months that guided planting and harvest, war and worship. Each month brought a different festival, each with its own story, its own music, its own dances that told tales of gods who shaped the sky, the earth, and the fate of all who lived beneath. Some festivals honored Huitzilopochtli, the hummingbird god of war and sun. Others celebrated Tlaloc, the rain god who brought life-giving storms after long dry seasons. The people believed that without these ceremonies, the world might slip into chaos, the sun might not rise, the rains might fail, and the earth would grow barren. On the day of a great festival, the city thrummed with anticipation. Stalls lined the plazas, offering foods prepared in secret recipes passed down through generations. Maize cakes sweetened with honey, roasted chilies that tingled the tongue, steaming bowls of cacao, thick and bitter. Singers stood on raised platforms, their voices rising in layered harmony, telling the story of creation, of gods and heroes who fought and loved, who brought light to the darkness. Dancers adorned with feathers and jaguar skins moved with deliberate grace, their feet striking the earth in patterns that mirrored the stars above. Each movement was a prayer, each step a connection to the forces that governed fate. The crowd watched in reverent silence, hearts beating in time with the drums, minds carried far beyond the stone temples into the realm of gods and ancestors. As twilight fell, torches lit the streets, casting flickering shadows that danced alongside the participants. Fire was both light and symbol, a bridge between worlds, a source of warmth and transformation. In the hush of night, stories unfolded in smoke and flame, in music that rose and fell like the breath of the earth itself. These festivals, once vibrant and powerful, have slipped through the cracks of history, their meanings faded by time and conquest. Yet, in the echoes of drumbeats and the rustle of feathers still found in museums, we catch whispers of a world where celebration was a sacred dance, a reminder that even amidst hardship, humanity reached out to the divine in song, dance, and fire. So as you drift into the hush of the story, imagine the pulse of drums beneath your feet, the scent of incense carried on a warm breeze, and the glow of torches lighting a city alive with prayer and hope. As the sun rose over the vast city of Tenochtitlan, the heart of the Aztec Empire, the streets began to hum with a quiet energy that grew stronger with each passing hour. People from every corner of the city and surrounding villages gathered, drawn by the call of the festival, a sacred day devoted to honoring the gods who wove the fabric of life together. At the edge of the main plaza stood towering pyramids, their steps slick with morning dew and the countless footsteps of worshippers. Priests, dressed in elaborate robes woven with the feathers of exotic birds, ascended the stone staircases with solemn purpose. Their faces were painted with vibrant colors, reds, blues, and yellows that shimmered in the sunlight, symbols that spoke of divine power and connection to the spiritual realm. The air was thick with the scent of copal incense, its sweet smoke curling skyward in slow spirals that seemed to weave through the sunlight, touching every corner of the city. The people bowed their heads in reverence, their voices lifted in chant, singing prayers that had echoed through generations. Each note carried a meaning, a plea for rain to nourish the crops, for the sun to rise without fail, for the spirits to watch over the children and the warriors alike. The festival was not merely a gathering, but a living story, enacted through song, dance, and ritual. Dancers adorned in jaguar skins and eagle feathers moved with precise grace, their steps tracing patterns that echoed the movement of the stars above. Drummers beat deep rhythms that echoed like thunder, setting the pace for the celebration and binding the people together in a shared heartbeat. Food vendors lined the streets, offering delicacies that were both nourishing and symbolic. Maize, the sacred corn, was prepared in countless ways, ground into dough for warm tortillas, toasted as kernels for snacks, and brewed into drinks that warmed the body and spirit. Chilies, tomatoes, and beans added flavor and color, while fruits like guava and prickly pear brought sweetness to the feast. As the sun climbed higher, priests performed ceremonies atop the pyramids, offering gifts and sacrifices to the gods. These acts were believed to maintain the balance of the world, ensuring that life would continue in its endless cycle of growth and renewal. Though the rituals might seem harsh to modern eyes, to the Aztecs they were expressions of deep devotion and understanding of the universe's delicate harmony. Children watched with wide eyes, learning the stories and songs that would one day belong to them. They imitated the dancers, practiced the chants, and listened closely as elders explained the meanings behind each tradition. In this way, the festivals became a living classroom, passing wisdom, culture, and identity from one generation to the next. As twilight approached, torches were lit, casting a warm glow that flickered against the towering stone walls. The music softened, turning into lullabies and prayers whispered into the night. The city settled into a calm hush, resting beneath a sky alive with stars that had witnessed countless celebrations before. Though centuries have passed and the stones now stand silent, the spirit of these forgotten festivals whispers still. In the rhythm of drums, the colors of feathers, the scent of burning incense carried on the breeze. They remind us that celebration is a bridge between the human and the divine, a moment when the world pauses to honor the sacred dance of life itself. So as you close your eyes and drift deeper into this story, imagine yourself surrounded by the pulse of ancient drums, the flicker of torchlight, and the scent of sacred smoke rising toward the endless sky. As the sun dipped low over the city of Tenochtitlan, the festival's energy shifted from the vibrant bustle of day to the quiet reverence of evening. The city's plazas, once filled with dancers and drummers, now glowed softly under the light of countless torches and oil lamps. Shadows flickered against the towering stone walls, weaving a tapestry of light and dark that seemed to breathe with the stories held within the city's ancient stones. Priests gathered in the temples at the heart of the city, their voices rising in solemn chant that echoed through the vaulted chambers. Their robes, heavy with embroidered symbols of gods and cosmos, brushed the polished floors as they moved in carefully measured steps. The air was thick with the scent of burning copal, a fragrant incense believed to carry prayers directly to the heavens, bridging the gap between the mortal and divine. Around the city, citizens joined in quiet processions, carrying offerings of flowers, food, and finely woven cloth. Each item was chosen with care, meant to honor a particular deity or mark a sacred moment within the festival's cycle. Women wore skirts dyed in brilliant reds and yellows, the colors of maize and fire, while men adorned themselves with elaborate headdresses that mimicked the feathers of sacred birds like the quetzal. Music filled the night air. Flutes played soft, haunting melodies, while drums kept a slow, steady rhythm that echoed the beating of countless hearts joined in celebration and worship. Dancers moved with graceful precision, their steps tracing ancient patterns that told stories of creation, war, love, and sacrifice. Their movements were not merely performances, but acts of devotion, each gesture a prayer sent into the night. As darkness deepened, the festival reached a sacred moment, a time when priests performed rites believed to ensure the sun's return and the continuation of life's cycles. Offerings were made atop the Great Pyramids, the highest points in the city, where the sky felt close enough to touch. Though these ceremonies were complex and often demanding, they were deeply woven into the Aztec understanding of the universe's balance, a balance that required human participation to maintain. Children watched with wide, curious eyes, absorbing the gravity and beauty of the night. They listened as elders explained the meanings behind each ritual, the stories of gods like Huitzilopochtli, who guided warriors in battle, or Tlaloc, who ruled over rain and fertility. In their minds, these tales grew roots, taking hold as the foundation of identity and belief that would carry them into adulthood. The festival was also a time of renewal and community. Neighbors shared food and drink, stories and laughter, strengthening bonds that held the social fabric together. Markets buzzed with activity, vendors offering colorful crafts, woven textiles, carved figurines, and painted masks that carried the spirits of animals and ancestors. This mingling of commerce and celebration brought a vibrant life to the city's heart, blending the sacred with the everyday in a way that made each moment shimmer with significance. As the night wore on, the music softened, the dancers slowed their steps, and the city drifted into a gentle quiet. The scent of copal lingered like a soft perfume, and the flicker of torches cast long shadows that seemed to hold the dreams of a people who knew. The sacred was never far from their daily lives. Though the centuries have passed and the stones now lie silent under the sun, echoes of these festivals remain. In the art and stories preserved, in the rhythms of music inspired by ancient drums, in the whispers of tradition carried forward by those who remember. So, as you let your eyes grow heavy and your breath slow, imagine the glow of torchlight on stone, the echo of drums beneath a starlit sky, and the hush of a city that once danced with the gods themselves. As the city of Tenochtitlan slept beneath a blanket of stars, the echoes of the day's festivals seemed to linger in the cool night air, weaving through the narrow streets and quiet plazas like a soft, persistent song. Though the crowds had dispersed and the drums had fallen silent, the spirit of celebration remained alive, tucked into the corners where the flicker of torchlight still danced against stone walls, carried in the scent of burnt copal that drifted gently upward toward the heavens. In the quiet stillness, priests and priestesses gathered within the shadowed chambers of the great temples. Their faces, painted with sacred symbols, glowed faintly in the flickering light of candle flames. They spoke in hushed tones, their prayers a delicate thread tying the mortal world to the divine. The air hummed with reverence, thick with the hope that the rituals they performed would sustain the cycles of sun and rain, life and death, growth and renewal. Elsewhere, the people who had danced and sung during the day rested in their homes, their minds heavy with the stories they had witnessed and the promises made to gods who ruled the unseen forces of the universe. Families shared quiet meals, their voices low and gentle as they retold favorite moments from the festival. A particularly graceful dance, a chant that touched the heart, a moment when the sky itself seemed to respond to the prayers sent upward in smoke and song. Children, though weary, lay awake in woven hammocks, their ears still attuned to the distant echo of drums, their dreams filled with the colors of feathers and firelight. They carried the festival's magic in their sleep, a magic woven from ancient wisdom, from the pulse of earth and sky, from the heartbeat of a people who understood that celebration was not merely for joy, but a sacred act of balance and belonging. The festivals of the Aztecs were woven tightly into the fabric of daily life. Each ceremony was a chapter in the ongoing story of existence, a way to mark the passage of time and the cycles of nature. Planting, harvesting, hunting, fighting, healing. Every act was accompanied by ritual, every moment blessed by song. In this way, the festivals connected the people not only to their gods, but to the land itself, binding human life to the rhythms of earth and sky in a dance as old as time. The most elaborate festivals included offerings and sacrifices, acts that modern eyes might find difficult to understand. Yet for the Aztecs, these rituals were profound expressions of faith, a way to give back to the gods, to maintain harmony in a world believed to be held together by delicate threads of reciprocity. Life and death, creation and destruction, light and shadow, all were part of the sacred cycle celebrated in the ceremonies that punctuated the Aztec calendar. As dawn approached and the city stirred anew, the remnants of the night's celebration faded slowly into memory. But the heart of the festival, the shared hope, the communal gratitude, the deep connection to the sacred, remained etched in the people's souls. These echoes would carry on through generations, passed from storyteller to child, from dancer to song, from one dawn to the next. Though time has worn away the stones and silenced the drums, the forgotten festivals of the Aztecs still whisper through history. In art, in music, in the stories kept alive by descendants and scholars alike, they remind us that celebration is a language all its own, a language of spirit, of community, of life lived in harmony with the cosmos. So as you settle deeper into sleep, imagine the soft flicker of torchlight, the echo of distant drums, and the scent of sacred smoke curling through ancient plazas. Feel the pulse of a people whose festivals were prayers danced beneath the sun, promises whispered beneath the stars, a reminder that even in silence, celebration lives on. As the new day dawned over the ancient city, the memories of the festivals still clung to the air, whispers of drumbeats and song woven into the very stones of Tenochtitlan. Though centuries have passed and the city itself has changed beyond recognition, the spirit of those celebrations lingers, carried forward in the stories, art, and traditions that survived conquest and time. The Aztecs' festivals were not simply occasions for joy, but profound acts of connection, binding people to gods, to nature, and to each other. Each festival followed the rhythm of the sacred calendar, a complex weave of cycles that governed the planting and harvesting of crops, the seasons of war and peace, the ebb and flow of life itself. Through song, dance, and ritual, the Aztecs honored the forces they believed shaped their world, from the sun that burned fiercely overhead to the rain that coaxed life from the earth. Imagine the great temple pyramids rising into the sky, their steps slick with centuries of footsteps, their platforms alive with priests clad in feathers and jade, performing rites that echoed with the prayers of thousands. The air around these temples was thick with the scent of copal incense, its sweet smoke spiraling upward to the heavens, carrying the hopes and pleas of the people below. On festival days, the streets of Tenochtitlan were alive with vibrant colors and sounds. Dancers moved with deliberate grace, their movements telling stories of creation, sacrifice, and renewal, stories that had been passed down through generations and were vital to the community's identity and survival. Drums and flutes filled the plazas, weaving rhythms and melodies that drew the crowd into a shared heartbeat, a collective breath that bound them to the gods and to one another. Food played a central role in the celebrations. The staple maize was transformed into countless dishes, warm tortillas, sweet tamales, and thick bitter cacao drinks that were treasured by all. These offerings were not only nourishment but sacred gifts, symbols of gratitude and reverence for the earth's bounty. Markets thrummed with activity, vibrant with traders offering colorful textiles, finely carved jewelry, and masks that embodied the spirits of animals and ancestors. Sacrifices, both symbolic and real, formed a vital part of the festivals. Though difficult for modern eyes to understand, these acts were deeply woven into the Aztec worldview, a recognition that life and death were intertwined, that giving back to the gods was essential to maintaining the delicate balance of the universe. In these moments, the people expressed their deepest devotion, offering their most precious gifts to ensure the sun would rise, the rains would fall, and the earth would continue to flourish. Children observed these ceremonies with awe and curiosity. They absorbed the rhythms and symbols, learning the stories that would guide them throughout their lives. Elders passed down wisdom not only through words but through song, dance, and art, ensuring that the festivals remained living traditions, breathing with the pulse of the community. Though the stones of the pyramids now stand silent, and the ancient songs are heard only in echoes, the forgotten festivals of the Aztecs continue to inspire. Their legacy lives in the vibrant cultures that descended from these ancient people, in the art and music that echo their spirit, and in the quiet moments when we pause to honor the cycles of life, renewal, and connection that they celebrated so fully. So as you sink deeper into the calm of sleep, imagine the glow of torches casting dancing shadows, the steady beat of drums echoing across ancient plazas, and the sweet scent of burning incense rising toward a starlit sky. Feel yourself carried on the breath of centuries, cradled in the rhythm of forgotten festivals that remind us all of the sacred dance between earth and Swampalkai, life and spirit. In the heart of the Aztec world, festivals were more than mere celebrations. They were sacred moments where the veil between the earthly and the divine thinned, allowing the people to commune with gods and ancestors alike. As the city of Tenochtitlan thrummed with life during these times, the air became charged with anticipation and reverence, a palpable energy that pulsed through every street and plaza. One such festival, dedicated to the rain god Tlaloc, was a vivid testament to the Aztecs' deep connection with nature. As the dry season gave way to the hopes of the first rains, the people gathered to honor Tlaloc, offering prayers and gifts to coax the skies to open and nourish the earth. Priests donned elaborate headdresses adorned with feathers and shells, their faces painted in striking blues and whites, colors symbolizing water and purity. Throughout the city, altars overflowed with offerings, maize, flowers, and intricately crafted pottery filled with water from sacred springs. Children participated by scattering petals and singing simple hymns learned from their parents, their voices mingling with the deep chants of the elders. The sounds rose and fell like the rhythm of the rain itself, a collective plea for life-giving waters to fall upon the parched land. Dancers performed with fluid grace, their movements mimicking the flow of rivers and the gentle patter of rain upon leaves. Their costumes shimmered with beads and embroidered symbols of water, waves, droplets, and serpents representing the fertility of the earth. Spectators watched in hushed awe, their hearts sinking with the cadence of the performance, feeling themselves drawn into the sacred dance of life's renewal. Feasting was integral to the celebration. Tables groaned under the weight of foods prepared specifically for the festival, tamales wrapped in corn husks, sweetened drinks made from fermented maize, and fruits harvested from gardens nurtured with care. Each bite was a sacrament, a thank you to the earth and sky for their generosity. At the festival's climax, offerings were made atop the Grand Pyramids. Though these rites included sacrifices that may seem daunting to modern observers, they were viewed by the Aztecs as essential acts of reciprocity, ensuring balance and harmony between humans and the cosmos. The offering symbolized gratitude and acknowledgement of the cycles that governed life, death, and rebirth. Children watched these ceremonies with a mix of curiosity and reverence, their young minds absorbing lessons in faith, responsibility, and the sacredness of the natural world. Through storytelling, song, and ritual, elders passed down the wisdom embedded in each festival, weaving a tapestry of cultural identity that would withstand the passage of time. Even as the centuries wore on and the Aztec Empire transformed, these festivals remained pillars of community and spirituality. Their echoes persist today in the traditions and celebrations of modern indigenous peoples, reminding us of the enduring power of ritual and the human desire to connect with something greater than ourselves. As night falls and the city quiets once more, imagine the soft rustle of feathers, the distant beat of drums fading into the darkness, and the whispered prayers rising with the smoke of burning incense. Feel yourself enveloped in the ancient rhythms, cradled by the stories and songs of a people who celebrated life with passion, reverence, and profound connection to the world around them. As the seasons shifted and the cycles of the sacred calendar turned, the Aztec festivals unfolded with a rhythm both timeless and profound. One such celebration was dedicated to the god Saipe Totec, the Flayed One, symbolizing renewal, regeneration, and the cycles of death and rebirth that governed the natural world. On the day of this festival, the city transformed into a vibrant tableau of color, sound, and ritual. Priests adorned in elaborate costumes crafted from the skins of sacrificial victims, a somber and potent symbol, moved through the streets with solemn grace. Their faces concealed beneath golden masks, they enacted rites that echoed the mysteries of life emerging from death, the earth shedding old skin to birth new growth. The air was thick with the scent of burning copal, mingling with the smoke from cooking fires, where special foods were prepared for the occasion. Dancers clad in bright feathers performed complex dances, their movements imitating the cycles of nature, falling leaves, the burst of new shoots, the swirling patterns of rain clouds. Their feet beat against stone plazas, matching the deep rhythms of drums that seemed to call the very earth to awaken. Offerings of maize, beans, and squash, the sacred three sisters of Aztec agriculture, were presented at altars adorned with vibrant flowers and precious stones. These gifts symbolized the fertility of the land and the sustenance it provided to the people, a thanksgiving woven into the very fabric of the festival. Spectators watched with a mixture of awe and reflection, understanding that beneath the vivid ceremonies lay profound truths about existence, mortality, and hope. Children listened to the stories recited by elders, tales of gods who sacrificed themselves to sustain the world, of warriors who protected the balance between life and death, of the eternal dance of change that shaped all things. The festival also included communal feasting and the sharing of specially prepared dishes, bringing together families and neighbors in celebration and gratitude. The tastes and aromas, from spicy chilies to sweet honeyed drinks, mingled with the sounds of laughter and song, creating a sensory tapestry that carried the spirit of the festival beyond the sacred spaces into everyday life. As night descended, torches lit the pathways to the temples where the final rituals took place. The atmosphere was thick with reverence, the flickering flames casting shadows that danced like spirits across the faces of participants. Prayers were offered for renewal, not just of the land, but of hearts and communities, of the bonds that held the people together through the trials of life. Though the outward forms of these festivals may seem distant, their essence remains deeply relevant, a reminder of humanity's connection to the cycles of nature and the need to honor the forces beyond our control. They speak to the universal desire for renewal, for balance, and for the courage to face endings with the hope of new beginnings. So as you let your breath slow and your eyes grow heavy, picture the vibrant colors of feathers and flowers, the rhythmic beat of drums, calling through ancient plazas, and the sacred flame flickering in the night. Feel yourself carried on the wave of centuries, cradled in the timeless dance of life, death, and rebirth that the Aztecs so deeply understood and so beautifully celebrated. As the cycle of festivals continued, the people of Tenochtitlan prepared for the celebration of Mikalhuitantli, the Festival of the Dead, a solemn and profound time dedicated to honoring ancestors and the spirits who had passed beyond the veil of the living world. The city transformed with altars adorned in marigold flowers, their bright orange petals believed to guide the spirits back to the earth. Candles flickered softly in the twilight, casting a warm glow over offerings of food, pottery, and woven goods carefully placed for the departed. The scent of copal incense mingled with the sweet aroma of fruits and flowers, creating an atmosphere both sacred and deeply comforting. Families gathered in homes and public squares, sharing stories of ancestors whose lives had shaped their communities. They spoke of heroes and humble folk alike, recounting tales of courage, kindness, and wisdom passed down through generations. Children listened intently, learning not just names and dates, but the values and lessons embedded in these ancestral memories. Priests conducted ceremonies that bridged worlds, invoking deities who governed life and death, beseeching them to protect the spirits and ensure the balance of the cosmos. Songs filled the air, melodies that were both mournful and hopeful, expressing the complex emotions of loss, remembrance, and reverence. In the streets, dancers adorned in skull masks and vibrant costumes moved rhythmically, their movements symbolizing the journey of the soul from this life to the next. The sound of drums echoed through the night, steady and deep, echoing the heartbeat of those who had come before and those who still walked the earth. Offerings were shared among the living as well, meals prepared with care and eaten in community, a celebration of life continuing in the presence of death. Cornbread, beans, chilies, and sweet fruits nourished the body as the stories and songs nourished the spirit. The festival was a reminder that death was not an end, but part of the eternal cycle, a passage from one existence to another, a transformation celebrated with both solemnity and joy. It underscored the Aztecs' profound understanding of life's impermanence and the importance of honoring those who came before to guide and protect the living. As the night deepened, torches burned low and the city grew quiet, but the spirit of Micalhuitantli remained alive in the hearts of the people. They knew that the connection between the living and the dead was woven through rituals, stories, and songs, threads of memory that would endure beyond time itself. So as you settle into the calm of sleep, imagine the soft glow of marigolds lighting ancient altars, the flicker of candlelight weaving shadows on stone walls, and the distant echo of drums calling across the night sky. Feel yourself wrapped in the embrace of a people who honored life and death with equal reverence, who danced with the spirits beneath the stars, and who understood that in remembering, we find the strength to live fully. As the final days of the festival approached, the city of Tenochtitlan seemed to pulse with a quiet anticipation, a shared understanding that these moments were not only for the gods, but for the community's very soul. The people moved with purpose and reverence, preparing for the closing ceremonies that would honor both the divine and the mortal, the living and the ancestors. In the grand plazas, artisans worked tirelessly, crafting intricate masks and costumes that embodied the spirits and stories of the festival. Feathers from exotic birds were woven into headdresses that shimmered in the sunlight. Beads and shells sewn into garments told tales of bravery, love, and sacrifice. These creations were not mere decorations, but sacred symbols, bridges between worlds, vessels of history and belief. Priests led processions through the city streets, their chants rising above the murmurs of the crowd like a sacred river flowing through stone canyons. Their voices carried the weight of centuries, each syllable a prayer for harmony, prosperity, and the continued favor of the gods. Children, dressed in miniature versions of the ceremonial garb, followed closely, absorbing the rhythms, the chants, and the stories with wide eyes and open hearts. They danced and sang, their innocent voices blending with the ancient melodies, reminding all present of the continuity of life and tradition. The city's markets buzzed with activity, vendors offering goods crafted from maize, obsidian, and precious metals. Food stalls filled the air with enticing aromas. Roasted meats, spiced stews, sweet tamales wrapped in corn husks, and thick, rich cacao drinks that warmed both body and spirit. Sharing these offerings was a sacred act, a communal feast that reinforced bonds and celebrated abundance. As dusk settled, torches flickered to life, their glow casting long shadows that danced across stone walls, etched with symbols and stories. Music swelled once more, the beat of drums and the call of flutes weaving a tapestry of sound that enveloped the city in a sacred embrace. At the temple steps, the final rites were performed, ceremonies that invoked the gods' blessings for the coming seasons, the renewal of the earth, and the protection of the people. Though the rituals could be intense and solemn, they were also moments of hope and renewal, a testament to the Aztecs' profound faith in the cycles of life and the power of connection. In the quiet that followed, families returned to their homes, carrying with them the warmth and spirit of the festival. Stories continued to be shared late into the night, songs echoed softly by flickering candlelight, and the city settled beneath a sky full of stars that had witnessed countless celebrations. Though time has weathered the stones and silenced the drums, the forgotten festivals of the Aztecs remain alive in the echoes of history. They remind us of humanity's enduring need to come together, to celebrate, to honor the sacred rhythms that bind us all. So as you drift deeper into rest, picture the vibrant colors, the rhythmic dance, the sacred flames, and the voices lifted in ancient song, a timeless celebration of life, spirit, and connection that lives on in the hush between breaths. In the quiet dawn after the final celebrations, the city of Tenochtitlan seemed to breathe a collective sigh, a moment of stillness after the vibrant dance of song, prayer, and ritual. Though the crowds had dispersed and the temples lay silent beneath the early morning light, the spirit of the festivals lingered like a gentle heartbeat woven into the very fabric of the city. The ancient stones, worn smooth by countless feet, held the echoes of chants and footsteps, whispers of prayers sent upward through the smoke of burning copal. Each altar, each carved figure, bore silent witness to the sacred acts performed with devotion and care, acts that were believed to maintain the balance of the cosmos and the harmony of life itself. Within the homes and hearts of the people, the festivals had renewed bonds between individuals, families, communities, and the divine. The rhythms of the ceremonies, the stories told through dance and song, had woven a tapestry of meaning that stretched beyond the physical world into the realms of spirit and memory. Children who had watched with wide eyes and open hearts carried the lessons and songs into their dreams and waking lives, preparing to one day pass them on to new generations. The cycle of celebration, remembrance, and renewal was not merely a moment in time, but a living tradition. A heartbeat that connected past to present, life to death, earth to sky. Though centuries have transformed the land and the people, the essence of these forgotten festivals remains, shimmering in the art inspired by ancient motifs, in the music that echoes ancestral rhythms, in the quiet moments when we pause to honor the sacredness of life and the cycles that sustain it. As you drift now into the deepest rest, imagine the soft glow of dawn light filtering through the leaves, the faint hum of distant drums fading into silence, and the whisper of ancient prayers carried on the morning breeze. Feel yourself cradled by the timeless dance of the Aztecs' festivals, a sacred rhythm of connection, celebration, and hope that continues to pulse gently beneath the surface of history. And know this, within every heartbeat, within every breath, the spirit of those ancient celebrations lives on, inviting us to remember the sacred dance of life and to find our place within its eternal rhythm. We've just journeyed through the vibrant echoes of the forgotten festivals of the Aztecs, a tale of sacred rhythms and timeless celebration. Now let us turn our gaze toward the sands of ancient deserts, where silent hands shaped wonders that have stood the test of millennia. Welcome to the silent engineers of ancient Egypt, part of our Boring History for Sleep series. Long before the hum of modern machines and the gleam of steel girders, the deserts of ancient Egypt held secrets whispered on the winds, secrets of minds that shaped stone and sand into monuments that still baffle us today. These silent engineers, unknown to most, crafted marvels not with loud tools or bustling factories, but with patience, precision, and a profound understanding of nature's rhythms. Imagine the vast Nile River winding through an endless expanse of golden desert, its waters bringing life to a land otherwise harsh and unyielding. Along its banks rose settlements of mud brick houses, bustling markets, and sacred temples where priests read the stars and recorded the cycles of the sun and moon. Yet, beyond the hum of daily life, great works of engineering began to take shape, structures that would stand for thousands of years, bearing silent witness to a civilization's ingenuity and devotion. The pyramids of Giza, towering against the azure sky, were not mere tombs, but triumphs of design and organization. Built from millions of limestone blocks, each carved and placed with astounding accuracy, these pyramids have confounded historians and architects for centuries. How did these ancient builders, armed with simple tools and raw manpower, achieve such feats? Their techniques remain a blend of mystery and marvel, a testament to the skill of the silent engineers whose names have long been lost to time. Beneath the pyramids, vast networks of tunnels and chambers were carved, carefully planned to align with celestial bodies and to protect the treasures of pharaohs in the afterlife. These underground passages required not only architectural knowledge, but an understanding of geology and the Earth's natural forces, a knowledge passed down through generations in careful silence. Beyond monumental tombs, the engineers of ancient Egypt mastered water management with equal brilliance. The Nile's seasonal floods were both a blessing and a challenge, demanding intricate systems of canals, dikes, and reservoirs to harness and direct the life-giving waters. These hydraulic marvels ensured fertile fields, stable food supplies, and the flourishing of cities along the river's course. Imagine the quiet toil of workers shaping mud and reeds into levees that held back floodwaters, of overseers calculating the flow of canals with simple tools and keen observation. These acts of engineering, though less visible than towering pyramids, were no less vital to the survival and prosperity of ancient Egypt. The silent engineers also perfected the art of stone quarrying and transportation. Massive blocks were cut from distant quarries and moved across deserts and waters to construction sites. Simple machines like ramps, sledges, and rollers, combined with human ingenuity, allowed these heavy stones to be lifted, positioned, and set with astonishing precision. Throughout it all, the work was marked by discipline, collaboration, and an almost spiritual dedication to craft. These engineers labored not for fame or fortune, but for the eternal, believing their works would bridge earth and sky, life and afterlife, mortal and divine. As you settle into the hush of this story, picture the silent hands shaping stone, the slow rhythm of work under the blazing sun, and the timeless patience that built wonders to outlast empires. Feel yourself carried along the Nile's gentle current, through deserts that hold ancient secrets, and into the world of the silent engineers of ancient Egypt, a story of quiet power and lasting legacy. As the sun rose over the vast Egyptian desert, the engineers began their work with a quiet precision that belied the grandeur of their achievements. Armed with simple tools fashioned from copper and stone, they measured, carved, and moved with a deliberate patience that spanned years, sometimes decades, to complete a single monument. Their understanding of mathematics and geometry was remarkable, enabling them to create perfect alignments and proportions without the aid of modern instruments. Using ropes, plumb bobs, and sighting rods, they laid out the foundations of pyramids and temples with astonishing accuracy, aligning structures to the cardinal points and the movements of the stars. Consider the Great Pyramid of Giza, its base so level that even today, it is one of the most precise man-made structures on Earth. This feat was no accident, but the result of careful planning and relentless attention to detail by engineers who understood the land and sky as intimately as they understood stone and mortar. Beyond the monumental, these engineers designed intricate irrigation systems that transformed the Nile's unpredictable floods into a controlled blessing. Canals, basins, and reservoirs channeled water to fields, ensuring crops could thrive in a desert environment. These waterworks were vital for sustaining Egypt's population and allowed the civilization to flourish in an unforgiving landscape. The silent engineers' work extended to road and transport networks, enabling the movement of massive stone blocks from quarries hundreds of miles away. Teams of workers used sledges lubricated with water to reduce friction, dragging stones across prepared paths lined with logs or wet sand. Levers and ramps aided in lifting and placing these blocks into position, each movement choreographed with exacting care. Imagine the rhythm of thousands of hands moving in unison, the pull of ropes, the shuffle of feet on sand, the steady call of overseers guiding the effort. Though their names have been lost to time, their legacy endures in every perfectly set stone and every monument that has withstood millennia of wind and sand. The engineers' skill was matched by their spiritual devotion. Each project was a sacred endeavor, dedicated to gods like Ra, Osiris, and Isis, whose favor was essential for the well-being of both the living and the dead. The monuments they built served as bridges between worlds, eternal resting places, and symbols of divine order. Their silent work shaped not only stone and earth, but the very identity of a civilization that has fascinated the world for thousands of years. As you imagine their careful hands and focused minds, feel the steady pulse of a culture built on balance, harmony, and reverence for both the natural and the supernatural. So as you drift into the calm of this tale, picture the endless desert stretching under a blazing sun, the quiet determination of builders shaping history, stone by stone, and the timeless flow of the Nile, carrying their legacy forward through the ages. One of the most remarkable aspects of ancient Egyptian engineering was their mastery of stone quarrying and transportation, a monumental task that required both ingenuity and perseverance. The quarries, often located miles from the building sites, provided the massive limestone and granite blocks essential for constructing temples, pyramids, and statues. Workers used copper chisels, wooden mallets, and stone hammers to carefully extract blocks, sometimes weighing several tons. The process demanded precision, as the blocks needed to fit perfectly within structures designed to last for eternity. Once quarried, these heavy stones were transported to construction sites by a combination of sledges, rollers, and barges along the Nile River. Imagine the scene. Teams of workers hauling enormous blocks across desert sands, wetting the ground ahead of the sledges to reduce friction, their bodies moving in synchronized effort under the blazing sun. The ingenuity of using water as a lubricant to ease movement demonstrates their deep understanding of physics and materials. Upon reaching the construction site, engineers faced the challenge of raising these massive stones into place. Ramps built from mud brick and limestone debris allowed workers to haul blocks up to the heights needed for pyramid construction. Levers and counterweights further aided in the precise placement of each block. Every step of this process was meticulously planned and executed, with architects and engineers working hand in hand to ensure stability and alignment. The final structures, from the soaring pyramids to the intricate temples, stand as testaments to this collaboration of knowledge and labor. But engineering in ancient Egypt was not limited to grand monuments. The silent engineers also devised systems for urban planning, drainage, and flood control that ensured the sustainability of cities like Memphis and Thebes. These innovations supported bustling populations, agricultural productivity, and religious activities, weaving the practical with the sacred. Their work was deeply intertwined with spirituality, as every project was dedicated to the gods and infused with symbolic meaning. The alignment of pyramids with celestial bodies, the orientation of temples to the rising sun, and the inclusion of sacred geometry all reflect a worldview where engineering and faith were inseparable. As you imagine these silent engineers working tirelessly in the heat, their hands roughened by stone and rope, picture their reverence for the land and sky that guided their every move. Their legacy is not only in stone, but in the harmony they created between human ambition and the natural world. So as you drift deeper into rest, envision the slow, steady rhythm of chisels striking stone, the soft murmur of voices coordinating a monumental task, and the eternal patience that shaped wonders destined to endure beyond time itself. Beyond the massive pyramids and sprawling temples, the ancient Egyptians' mastery extended to the subtle art of hydraulic engineering, a craft that transformed the life of the Nile Valley and shaped the fate of a civilization. The Nile, with its annual floods, was both a giver of life and a force to be controlled, and the silent engineers devised ingenious methods to harness its power. Canals, basins, and dikes were carefully constructed to channel floodwaters, distributing nourishment to fields while protecting settlements from destructive overflow. These waterworks allowed the Egyptians to cultivate crops with a consistency unmatched in the ancient world, securing food supplies for a growing population. Picture the workers, bending over earth and stone, shaping channels that guided the river's flow with meticulous care. Simple tools and an intimate knowledge of the land, were their instruments, and generations passed down the secrets of timing, measurement, and adaptation needed to maintain this delicate balance. The system was dynamic. Every year, adjustments were made to respond to the river's moods, whether generous or scant. Records were kept by scribes who observed the flood levels, predicted planting times, and coordinated communal labor to repair and improve irrigation infrastructure. This silent collaboration between human effort and natural cycles was at the heart of Egypt's enduring success. The fields yielded rich harvests of barley, wheat, flax, and papyrus, supporting not only subsistence, but also trade and cultural development. Water management also supported the bustling cities along the Nile, providing fresh water and removing waste, essential for public health and urban life. Reservoirs stored water during dry months, while canals connected neighborhoods and facilitated transport, integrating engineering with the rhythms of daily existence. The spiritual significance of water was deeply embedded in Egyptian culture, reflected in myths and rituals honoring the Nile as a divine source of life. The silent engineer's work was thus not only practical, but sacred, embodying a harmonious relationship with nature that revered the river's power and generosity. Imagine standing on the banks of the Nile, feeling the pulse of the river, hearing the quiet sounds of water flowing through channels shaped by hands long gone, yet still alive in every drop. Envision the community gathered to celebrate the flood's arrival, grateful for the life it promised, and the silent engineers who ensured that promise was fulfilled. As you let your thoughts drift gently with the flow of the Nile, feel the profound connection between land, water, and human ingenuity, a timeless dance that shaped one of history's greatest civilizations. Allow yourself to be carried softly downstream into the calm embrace of the ancient world's silent engineers. Among the many marvels crafted by the silent engineers of ancient Egypt, Their expertise in architectural design and urban planning stands as a testament to their foresight and skill. Cities like Memphis and Thebes were not merely collections of buildings, but carefully orchestrated spaces that balanced functionality, spirituality, and aesthetics. Wide avenues lined with columns and statues guided processions and daily movement, while temples were positioned to align with celestial events, sunrises, solstices, and star cycles, connecting the earthly realm with the heavens. This alignment was no coincidence, but the product of precise calculations and deep astronomical knowledge. Craftsmen and engineers collaborated closely, ensuring that structures not only stood firm, but also served symbolic purposes. Columns carved with lotus and papyrus motifs spoke of life and creation, while intricate reliefs depicted stories of gods and kings, weaving narrative into stone. Residential areas were planned with an understanding of climate and social needs, featuring courtyards that captured cooling breezes and shaded spaces that provided refuge from the desert sun. Water channels ran through neighborhoods, supplying homes and gardens, integrating nature into the fabric of daily life. The silent engineers also developed sophisticated drainage systems to manage rain and waste, essential in a city surrounded by desert. These systems prevented flooding and maintained hygiene, showcasing a holistic approach to urban living. Imagine the bustling workshops where artisans carved sandstone and granite, their tools ringing out in steady rhythms, shaping blocks that would become pillars and statues. Nearby, planners sketched layouts, measured angles, and instructed workers in the precise placement of stones and beams. Every detail was purposeful, from the height of a column to the width of a street, reflecting a harmonious vision that balanced practicality with sacred geometry. This vision created spaces where religion, governance, and daily life intersected seamlessly, fostering community and reverence. Their work endured through millennia, inspiring wonder and study long after the last brick was laid and the last chisel struck stone. The silent engineer's legacy is a silent dialogue across time, a whisper in the ruins that speaks of human creativity, devotion, and the quest to touch eternity. As you settle deeper into the gentle flow of this story, picture the grandeur of ancient cities unfolding beneath a sunlit sky, the patient hands shaping stone and earth, and the quiet minds weaving order from chaos. Let the harmony of their work soothe you into calm, as the silent engineers of Egypt continue their timeless vigil beneath the sands. Among the countless achievements of ancient Egyptian engineers, one of the most awe-inspiring was their mastery of monumental sculpture and artistry, silent yet powerful expressions of culture, belief, and identity carved in stone. Imagine artisans painstakingly chiseling colossal statues of pharaohs and gods, their hands steady despite the weight of their task. Each stroke was deliberate, each detail carefully considered to convey strength, divinity, and eternal presence. These sculptures were not mere decorations, but embodiments of power and protection, guardians watching silently over temples and tombs. The process of creating such sculptures began with selecting the finest blocks of stone, granite, sandstone, and limestone, quarried from distant sites known for their quality. Artisans then smoothed and shaped these stones using copper tools, abrasives, and an intimate knowledge of the material's properties. The sheer scale of some statues, like the colossal figures at Abu Simbel, speaks to the remarkable skill and patience of these silent engineers. Beyond the physical craft, these sculptures were rich in symbolism. Each pose, gesture, and inscription was imbued with meaning, a language of form that communicated divine authority and cosmic order. The balance and symmetry of the figures reflected the Egyptians' deep belief in Ma'at, the principle of harmony and balance that governed all existence. Inside the tombs, intricate reliefs covered walls and columns, depicting scenes from mythology, daily life, and the journey to the afterlife. These carvings served as guides for the deceased, offering protection and knowledge for the soul's passage through the Duat, the Egyptian underworld. The silent engineers also crafted obelisks, towering monuments that pierced the sky, symbolizing the sun's rays and connecting earth to the divine. Transporting and erecting these massive monoliths required precise planning and coordination, a testament to their engineering prowess. The artistry extended beyond stone to include metals, wood, and ceramics, all crafted with the same reverence and attention to detail. Jewelry, furniture, and ritual objects were fashioned to reflect the cosmic order and to serve the living and the dead alike. Imagine the workshops where sculptors and craftsmen worked side by side with engineers and priests, their efforts intertwined in a shared vision of eternity. Though their names may be lost to history, their silent voices resonate through the enduring beauty and power of their creations. As you drift gently into the calm of this tale, envision the steady rhythm of hammer and chisel, the smooth polish of stone under skilled hands, and the quiet majesty of statues standing watch across millennia. Let yourself be carried by the silent engineer's devotion, a timeless testament to human creativity and the quest for immortality. The silent engineers of ancient Egypt were not only masters of stone and water, but also pioneers in the creation of intricate tools and devices that facilitated their monumental projects. These inventions, though simple by today's standards, reflected a deep understanding of mechanics, leverage, and material properties that allowed them to achieve feats many centuries ahead of their time. One such tool was the shaduf, a hand-operated device used to lift water from the Nile into irrigation canals. Consisting of a long pole balanced on a fulcrum with a bucket on one end and a counterweight on the other, the shaduf enabled efficient transfer of water with minimal effort, showcasing the Egyptians' ingenuity in harnessing basic physics for practical purposes. In construction, levers and ramps played vital roles in moving heavy stones into place. Workers coordinated the use of wooden sledges, lubricated pathways with water or oil, and employed manpower with precise timing to reduce friction and maximize efficiency. These methods required not just brute strength, but careful planning and cooperation, a silent choreography that transformed raw materials into architectural wonders. The engineers also utilized plumb bobs and leveling instruments made from wood and stone to ensure vertical and horizontal precision in their constructions. These tools, though primitive compared to modern equipment, allowed for remarkable accuracy in aligning massive structures. Imagine the workshops where craftsmen fashioned these tools, selecting the finest wood, shaping stones, and assembling devices that would become essential to grand projects. These tools were extensions of the engineers' minds and hands, bridging the gap between vision and reality. Moreover, the silent engineers understood the importance of logistics, organizing labor, materials, and timelines in a system that could support projects lasting decades. They developed methods to coordinate thousands of workers, from quarrymen to transporters, from masons to overseers, all working in harmony towards a common goal. Their expertise was not limited to physical construction, but extended into material science, knowing which types of stone and mortar would withstand time and elements. They experimented with different compositions and techniques, gradually perfecting methods that have preserved their works for millennia. This combination of practical knowledge, innovative tools, and organizational skill highlights the silent engineers as pioneers of engineering as we understand it today. Their legacy is etched not only in stone, but in the foundations of modern engineering principles. As you allow your mind to drift deeper into rest, picture the quiet workshops filled with the gentle sounds of crafting and calculation, the soft scrape of wood, the steady tap of stone, the whispered plans of engineers translating vision into reality. Feel the reverence and dedication that guided their every action, a timeless devotion to building wonders that still inspire awe. Among the many challenges faced by the silent engineers of ancient Egypt was the delicate balance between ambition and sustainability. They built grand monuments to last for eternity, yet they also understood the importance of living in harmony with the natural world around them. Water was life, and managing the Nile's floods required constant vigilance and adaptation. The engineers maintained and improved an extensive network of canals and dikes, adjusting to changing flood patterns and sediment deposits. This living infrastructure ensured that the fertile soil nourished crops year after year, supporting a growing civilization. Forests, though limited, were carefully managed for timber used in construction and tools. Stone quarries were worked thoughtfully to prevent depletion and to preserve the quality of materials. This respect for resources was woven into the culture, reflecting a worldview that valued balance and continuity. The silent engineers also innovated in the realm of construction materials. They experimented with different types of mortar and plaster to bind stones and protect surfaces from erosion. Pigments derived from minerals were used to color temple walls and statues, preserving the stories and symbolism for generations. Labor was another critical aspect of their success. Large-scale projects mobilized vast numbers of workers, farmers during the flood season, skilled artisans, and overseers who coordinated complex tasks. This social organization was both a feat of logistics and a reflection of a society that valued collective effort and shared purpose. Imagine the scenes of bustling construction sites, where discipline and order combined with human determination and skill. The silent engineers led these efforts with quiet authority, guiding each phase with precision and foresight. Their legacy is not only the towering pyramids and majestic temples, but also the systems and knowledge that made such feats possible. They laid the groundwork for engineering principles that would echo through history, inspiring generations beyond their own. As you drift deeper into the calm of the story, picture the flowing waters of the Nile, the steady hands shaping stone and earth, and the enduring spirit of those silent engineers whose wisdom built one of the world's greatest civilizations. Feel the timeless connection between human ingenuity and nature's rhythms, a harmony that continues to inspire awe and wonder. As the sun set over the sprawling city of Thebes, casting long shadows over the grand temples and quiet streets, the legacy of the silent engineers echoed softly in the evening breeze. Their work was more than stone and mortar. It was a testament to a culture's reverence for balance, order, and the eternal rhythms of life and death. These engineers understood that every structure, every canal, and every monument was part of a larger cosmic plan. Alignments with the stars and the cycles of the moon were deliberate, embedding spiritual meaning into the very fabric of their cities. This celestial harmony reflected the Egyptians' belief in Ma'at, the principle of truth, balance, and cosmic order that governed both the heavens and the earth. Picture the priests observing the night sky, charting the movements of Orion and Sirius, timing festivals and rituals to coincide with their appearances. These observations guided construction projects and religious ceremonies alike, weaving science and spirituality into a seamless whole. The silent engineers worked quietly behind the scenes, translating these celestial insights into physical realities. They calculated angles and measurements, planned orientations, and supervised the meticulous placement of stones and columns. Their expertise ensured that temples faced the rising sun on important days, that burial chambers aligned with constellations, and that cities thrived in harmony with the cosmos. Beyond their technical skills, these engineers were custodians of cultural memory. Their monuments preserve stories of gods and kings, heroes and common folk, etched into stone for generations to come. These stories were not mere decoration, but sacred narratives that connected people to their past, their land, and their faith. As darkness enveloped the city, the silent engineers' work took on a new dimension, one of mystery and timelessness. Their creations stood as eternal sentinels, guarding secrets of ancient wisdom beneath the shifting sands and starry skies. Imagine walking through a temple at night, the cool stone underfoot, the flicker of torchlight dancing on carved walls, and the weight of millennia pressing gently against your spirit. You sense the presence of those silent engineers, their hands shaping history with care and devotion, their legacy alive in every stone and shadow. As you settle into the quiet of this story, allow yourself to be carried by the enduring spirit of these ancient builders. Feel the connection between human creativity and the vast cosmos, a reminder that through patience, skill, and reverence, even the most silent voices can shape the world. As dawn gently breaks over the Nile's winding banks, the silent engineers' legacy continues to breathe through the sands and stones of ancient Egypt. Their monumental works, born of patience and precision, remain enduring symbols of a civilization that sought harmony between earth, sky, and spirit. The towering pyramids stand as timeless monuments, not merely of power or wealth, but of human ingenuity, devotion, and the quest for immortality. Each stone laid was a testament to collaboration across generations, a silent conversation between builder and cosmos, echoing through the ages. Beneath the surface of these grand structures lie stories of thousands who labored tirelessly, the craftsmen, architects, planners, and workers, whose names may be lost, but whose hands shaped history. Their silent dedication carved legacies not only in stone, but in the very identity of Egypt itself. Waterways, canals, and irrigation systems still whisper of their careful design, transforming a harsh desert into a cradle of life and culture. These innovations sustained a flourishing society, enabling art, science, and religion to blossom alongside agriculture and trade. The spiritual resonance of their engineering echoed through temples aligned to stars and seasons, weaving a cosmic tapestry that united humanity with the divine. It was a civilization that understood the sacred geometry of existence, crafting spaces where heaven and earth touched. Today, as we gaze upon these marvels, we are reminded of the power of quiet persistence, of knowledge passed down with reverence, and of the human spirit's capacity to shape the world with grace and purpose. So as you drift into the calm embrace of sleep, imagine the gentle hands that shaped these wonders, the silent engineers whose wisdom flows like the Nile itself, steady and eternal. Feel the timeless connection they forged between stone and sky, earth and spirit, past and future. And know that in every breath, every heartbeat, the legacy of these ancient builders lives on, an unspoken song of creativity, devotion, and the enduring quest to leave a mark upon the world. Sleep now, cradled by history, carried by the silent rhythm of ancient Egypt's greatest engineers, whose stories continue to inspire wonder and peace across the ages. We have just closed the chapter on the silent engineers of ancient Egypt, a tale of timeless craft and quiet devotion. Now let us sail across ancient waters to explore hidden gateways and forgotten ports, where the tides of history have quietly receded beneath the waves. Welcome to Lost Harbors of the Mediterranean, part of our Boring History for Sleep series. Long before the age of towering steel ships and bustling modern ports, the Mediterranean Sea was cradled by countless harbors, silent gateways that bore witness to the rise and fall of empires, the movement of peoples, and the slow, steady pulse of trade and culture. These harbors, some now lost beneath waves or buried beneath shifting sands, were once vibrant centers of life, places where merchants bargained, sailors rested, and stories crossed borders as freely as goods. Imagine a coastline dotted with stone piers and wooden docks, worn smooth by centuries of footsteps and the gentle crash of salt water. Fishermen cast their nets in the early morning mist, while traders unloaded amphorae filled with olive oil, wine, and fragrant spices that perfumed the air. The calls of market sellers mingled with the creak of ships' rigging, creating a symphony of sounds that told tales of distant lands and shared hopes. These harbors were more than mere points on a map. They were lifelines, connecting scattered communities and powerful city-states alike. Each harbor had its own character, some fortified by towering walls to defend against invaders, others open and welcoming, flanked by bustling marketplaces and temples dedicated to sea gods like Poseidon and Melkart. Many of these ports thrived under the rule of mighty civilizations, Phoenicians, Greeks, Romans, each leaving their imprint in stone foundations, architectural styles, and the very layout of the harbor towns. Ships bearing cedar from Lebanon, marble from Greece, and grain from Egypt all found their way to these bustling hubs, carrying the lifeblood of economies that spanned continents. Yet time is a patient thief. Rising seas, earthquakes, and human neglect have swallowed many of these once thriving harbors, leaving only faint traces for modern explorers and archaeologists to uncover. Some lie hidden beneath turquoise waters, coral and sand cloaking the remnants of quays and warehouses. Others are buried inland, their stones scattered beneath layers of earth as cities shifted and grew in new directions. The stories of these lost harbors are stories of change, of nature's relentless forces and humanity's shifting tides. They speak of prosperity and decline, of trade routes rerouted and empires reshaped, of cultures mingling and evolving in the eternal dance of the Mediterranean. As you let your mind drift with the gentle waves, picture the sun setting over a forgotten harbor, its waters shimmering gold, its once busy docks now silent but full of memories. Hear the distant laughter of sailors, the soft splash of oars, the murmur of languages blending like the tides. Feel the weight of history resting softly beneath the sea, waiting for the next breath of discovery to awaken its secrets once more. The Mediterranean coastline, a mosaic of rocky cliffs, sandy beaches, and sheltered coves, was once dotted with hundreds of harbors, each a unique gateway between land and sea, each with its own story carved by waves and winds. Some were humble fishing villages, while others blossomed into bustling metropolises, their harbors the beating hearts of commerce and culture. Picture the ancient port of Theros, nestled on the island of Sardinia, its stone quays stretching into the cerulean waters, faded now but once alive with activity. Here, Phoenician traders arrived with cargoes of precious metals and textiles, their ships anchored alongside Roman merchant vessels laden with olive oil and wine. The harbor echoed with the clash of tongues and the rhythm of goods being loaded and unloaded, a a place where the Mediterranean's diversity converged in a single vibrant pulse. Further east, the once great harbor of Olbia thrived as a hub of trade and naval power. Its walls bore witness to sieges and celebrations alike, while temples overlooking the docks offered prayers to gods who ruled the seas and protected those who dared to cross them. The ebb and flow of tides matched the comings and goings of ships that carried the lifeblood of empires. Yet these harbors were vulnerable to the forces of nature and time. Earthquakes, rising sea levels, and sedimentation gradually transformed the landscapes, turning once thriving ports into forgotten ruins. The harbor of ancient Carthage, famed for its naval dominance, now lies mostly beneath layers of sediment and modern construction, its story preserved only in the fragments uncovered by determined archaeologists. Many harbors were abandoned as trade routes shifted or cities declined, their quays collapsing into the sea, their warehouses reclaimed by sand and salt spray. Some vanished beneath rising waters, swallowed by the relentless Mediterranean tides, while others were buried by human hands as civilizations moved inland or transformed. The loss of these harbors is not merely a tale of decay, but a reflection of history's shifting currents, of power, economy, and environment intertwining over millennia. Each lost harbor holds secrets of ancient mariners, traders, and everyday people whose lives were shaped by the sea's bounty and peril. Exploring these submerged or forgotten harbors is like stepping back into a world frozen in time. Underwater archaeologists dive among ruins where amphorae still rest on the seabed, and stone walls peek from beneath layers of sand and algae. On land, excavations reveal foundations of docks, warehouses, and marketplaces, silent witnesses to vibrant pasts. As you drift deeper into the story, imagine standing on a weathered pier, feeling the cool spray of the Mediterranean breeze, hearing distant calls of seabirds, and sensing the lingering presence of lives once intertwined with these lost harbors. Let yourself be carried on the gentle swell of history's tides, as the Mediterranean's forgotten gateways whisper their tales through waves and winds. As the centuries passed, the harbors of the Mediterranean witnessed the rise and fall of countless civilizations, each leaving their mark upon the shores, and each transforming these gateways between land and sea into bustling centers of trade, culture, and power. Imagine the harbor of ancient Alexandria, founded by Alexander the Great, a shimmering jewel on Egypt's northern coast. Its grand lighthouse, the Pharos, stood as one of the ancient world's 7 wonders, casting a guiding light for ships from across the known world. Beneath its glow, merchants from Greece, Phoenicia, Egypt, and beyond converged to exchange spices, silk, grain, and stories. The harbor was a maze of piers and docks, alive with the clatter of hooves, the shouts of traders, and the creak of wooden hulls. Yet, as the tides of time shifted, so too did the fortunes of Alexandria's harbor. Earthquakes and tsunamis battered the coastline, swallowing parts of the city and silencing the once bustling docks. Submerged ruins now tell stories of a thriving port reclaimed by the sea, its treasures hidden beneath waves and sands. Farther west, the once thriving harbor of Carthage stood as a rival power to Rome. Its naval fleets ruled the waters, and its docks bustled with activity, from merchant ships laden with goods to war galleys preparing for battle. The layout of Carthage's harbor reflected sophisticated engineering, with separate basins for commercial and military use, protected by massive walls and fortifications. However, the Punic Wars brought devastation, and ultimately, the destruction of Carthage by Rome led to the abandonment and burial of its harbors. What was once a beating heart of Mediterranean commerce was lost beneath rubble and sediment, waiting for explorers centuries later to rediscover its secrets. Along the coastlines of Greece and the islands scattered across the sea, harbors such as Piraeus served as vital lifelines for city-states like Athens. These ports were carefully planned, with quays to accommodate the famous triremes and warehouses storing everything from olive oil to pottery. The rhythms of daily life in these harbors connected farmers, fishermen, and sailors to the wider ancient world through trade and diplomacy. Yet even these vibrant ports could not escape the passage of time and natural forces. Siltation, changing shorelines, and human conflict led to the gradual decline of many ancient harbors. Ruins beneath turquoise waters, now colonized by coral and fish, are silent witnesses to once thriving hubs. The Mediterranean's lost harbors are also stories of resilience and rediscovery. Archaeologists use the latest technology, submersible drones, sonar mapping, and underwater excavations, to peel back layers of history. Fragments of amphorae, stone anchorages, and sunken hulls tell tales of trade routes and cultural exchanges that shaped the ancient world. On land, excavations reveal the footprints of warehouses, marketplaces, and temples, their stones whispering of the people who built, lived, and dreamed there. Inscriptions and artifacts recovered tell stories not just of commerce, but of festivals, politics, and daily life, intertwined with the ebb and flow of the Mediterranean tide. As you drift with the gentle swell of this tale, imagine the scent of salt and spices in the air, the creak of rigging, the murmur of languages blending from every shore. Feel the pulse of the ancient sea, where harbors rose and fell like the waves, gateways to empires, crossroads of civilization, and silent keepers of secrets beneath their waters. The Mediterranean Sea has long been a cradle of civilization, where land and water meet in a dance both delicate and powerful. Its harbors, the silent witnesses of countless stories, thrived as centers of life and exchange. Yet over the centuries, many have slipped beneath the waves or been buried beneath shifting sands, their voices quiet but never truly silenced. Consider the harbor of Phalasarna, located on the western coast of Crete. Once a powerful naval base and thriving commercial port, it was renowned for its massive fortifications and bustling shipyards. Ancient records speak of its fleets that controlled sea routes and its markets where merchants bartered exotic goods from distant lands. Imagine the daily rhythm of Phalasarna's harbor in its prime. The sunrise illuminating stone quays lined with ships, the smell of salted fish mingling with fragrant spices brought from the east, and the constant murmur of traders exchanging goods and news. The soundscape was alive with the creak of timber, the slap of waves against hulls, and the laughter of children playing near the water's edge. Yet, as with many ancient ports, nature played a relentless role in the harbor's fate. Earthquakes rocked the region, and eventually, tsunamis struck, reshaping the coastline and submerging parts of the once grand harbor beneath the sea. Today, underwater archaeologists explore the submerged ruins, their dives revealing remnants of docks, warehouses, and ancient shipwrecks encrusted with coral and teeming with marine life. Farther along the Mediterranean coast lies the ancient city of Olbia, a Greek colony whose harbor was a vital link between Europe and the Black Sea region. Olbia's harbor was a hub of maritime activity. Ships laden with grain, wine, and crafted goods arrived from all corners of the ancient world. The layout of the harbor reflected a sophisticated understanding of maritime needs, featuring protective breakwaters and deep basins to shelter vessels from storms. Visualize merchants unloading their wares, sailors repairing rigging, and the aroma of baked bread drifting from nearby ovens. Temples overlooking the harbor stood as both spiritual guardians and symbols of the city's wealth and power. Festival days filled the harbor with music, dancing, and colorful ceremonies, celebrating not only the gods, but the sea itself, the ever-present force shaping life. As centuries passed, Olbia's fortunes waxed and waned, influenced by political shifts, wars, and environmental changes. Sedimentation and shifting shorelines gradually rendered the harbor less accessible, leading to its eventual abandonment. Yet, through excavations, we piece together its vibrant history, uncovering artifacts that tell of a city once alive with connection and commerce. The lost harbors of the Mediterranean also include places like Baiae, a Roman resort town famed for its luxurious villas and healing hot springs. Its harbor welcomed emperors and elites, their ships arriving amid lavish celebrations. Beneath the calm waters today lie the remains of baths, temples, and piers, slowly revealed by the sea's gentle erosion. Each harbor's story is intertwined with the people who depended on it, the fishermen, traders, sailors, artisans, and families whose lives ebbed and flowed with the tides. Their daily routines, struggles, and joys were mirrored in the rhythms of the sea and the rise and fall of their ports. The Mediterranean's lost harbors remind us that history is not static, but a living, breathing force shaped by both human endeavor and the ever-changing natural world. They invite us to imagine a past where every stone and wave carried meaning, where the sea was both a pathway and a protector, a giver and a taker. As you relax deeper into the story, picture the shimmer of sunlight on water, the distant cry of seabirds, and the whisper of ancient winds carrying tales of lost ships and forgotten docks. Feel the timeless connection between past and present, land and sea, memory and mystery, a gentle tide inviting you to explore the quiet beauty of the Mediterranean's hidden gateways. As the Mediterranean's endless dance of tides and trade continued through the ages, its harbors became vibrant mosaics of culture, economy, and human aspiration. Each lost harbor holds a story, sometimes one of flourishing prosperity, sometimes of sudden abandonment, woven into the fabric of history and geography alike. Consider the ancient port city of Byblos, located on the coast of modern-day Lebanon, one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in the world. Byblos was a beacon of civilization, its harbor welcoming Phoenician sailors whose ships carried cedar wood, glass, and purple dye across the Mediterranean. The docks were alive with craftsmen and traders, their work shaping the very contours of Mediterranean commerce. Imagine the sun casting long shadows on stone quays worn smooth by centuries of footsteps, the air thick with the scent of resin and salt. Ships adorned with colorful sails bobbed gently, their crews preparing for voyages that would link distant lands and cultures. The harbor was not just a place of exchange, but a melting pot of languages, beliefs, and artistic traditions, a crossroads where the world's stories met and mingled. Yet Byblos's harbor, like many others, faced challenges both natural and human. Storms battered its walls, sediment shifted its shores, and geopolitical shifts redirected trade routes, gradually reducing its prominence. Still, the city's legacy endures in archaeological ruins and the living culture of its descendants. Further west, the ancient harbor of Ephesus on the coast of modern Turkey thrived as a critical nexus between Asia and Europe. Its bustling port supported not only commerce, but also religious pilgrimage to the famed Temple of Artemis, one of the seven wonders of the ancient world. The harbor bustled with merchants, pilgrims, and sailors, its docks echoing with the clamor of trade and the cadence of festivals. Visualize the labyrinthine streets leading from the harbor to grand temples and theaters, the aroma of exotic spices and freshly baked bread filling the air. Ships laden with marble, silks, and grains arrived regularly, their crews greeted by merchants eager to sell and trade. However, over centuries, the harbor's silt-filled bays receded, and the sea's edge moved away, transforming Ephesus from a waterfront city to one inland. The once vibrant docks now lie buried beneath earth and memory, their stories pieced together by dedicated archaeologists. The loss of these harbors is a testament to the ever-changing relationship between humans and their environment, a reminder of nature's power to reshape even the grandest human achievements. Underwater explorations reveal sunken quays, remnants of shipwrecks, and scattered amphorae, silent storytellers of lives long gone. Onshore, mosaics, inscriptions, and artifacts speak to the daily life and spiritual practices of harbor communities. The Mediterranean's lost harbors are more than ruins. They are portals to understanding the complexities of ancient life, its triumphs, its challenges, and its enduring connection to the sea. As you breathe deeply and settle further into rest, imagine the gentle lapping of waves against forgotten docks, the soft murmur of sailors' songs, and the shimmer of twilight over a vanished port. Let your mind sail these ancient waters, carried by the whispers of harbors lost but never forgotten. The Mediterranean Sea, a cradle of civilization, was home to countless harbors, each serving as a vital gateway where land met water, commerce intertwined with culture, and history was written in stone and sail. Among these, the harbor of Carthage stood as one of the most powerful and influential, a beacon of Phoenician might and Mediterranean trade. Carthage's harbor was no ordinary port. It was a marvel of ancient engineering, designed to support one of the most formidable naval fleets of the ancient world. The city boasted two main harbors, one dedicated to military vessels, the other to commercial ships, both fortified with massive walls and protected by breakwaters. The circular military harbor, known as the Chthon, featured docking spaces arranged like spokes of a wheel, allowing ships to be quickly deployed or sheltered. Imagine the flurry of activity within Carthage's harbors during their height. Sailors preparing triremes for battle, merchants unloading precious cargoes of silver, tin, and textiles, and artisans crafting the goods that sustain the city's prosperity. The sounds of shouting, hammering, and the rhythmic splash of oars created a lively symphony, echoing off stone walls and across bustling marketplaces. Yet Carthage's fate was entwined with the rise of Rome, whose growing power culminated in the Punic Wars. After years of conflict, the city was razed, its harbors abandoned and swallowed by sand and sea. Today, archaeologists dive beneath the waves, uncovering remnants of docks, warehouses, and sunken ships, silent witnesses to a vibrant past submerged beneath turquoise waters. Further along the Mediterranean coast, the harbor of Caesarea in modern-day Israel offers another fascinating story. Built by Herod the Great, Caesarea's harbor was a masterpiece of Roman engineering, featuring massive breakwaters made from concrete blocks set underwater, a technique that allowed structures to withstand the sea's relentless forces. Visualize the grandeur of Caesarea's port in its prime. Columns lining wide quays, ships arriving laden with goods from across the empire, and bustling crowds from diverse cultures mingling in the marketplaces. Temples, theaters, and bathhouses rose near the harbor, blending civic life with maritime commerce in a thriving urban landscape. However, as centuries passed, earthquakes and silting gradually diminished Caesarea's harbor, and the city's focus shifted inland. The once bustling docks now lie partially submerged, inviting underwater explorers to reveal layers of history beneath the calm sea. These lost harbors remind us that the Mediterranean is a living archive of human endeavor, its waves carrying stories of trade, conquest, culture, and resilience. Each submerged stone and buried quay holds clues to civilizations that shaped the ancient world and whose legacies continue to influence modern societies. As you settle into the gentle rhythm of this narrative, imagine the salty breeze carrying whispers of ancient mariners, the glint of sunlight on waves that have borne countless ships, and the haunting beauty of harbors lost to time but never forgotten. Let your mind drift on these timeless waters, embracing the quiet magic of discovery beneath the surface of history. As the Mediterranean tides gently lap against ancient shores, the stories of forgotten harbors continue to echo through the ages, whispers of bustling docks, salt-kissed air, and lives woven deeply with the rhythms of the sea. One such harbor was at Delos, a small island in the Cyclades, which rose to prominence in the classical Greek world as a sacred sanctuary and a thriving port of commerce. Its harbor, protected by natural coves and man-made walls, welcomed vessels from across the Mediterranean, laden with goods, pilgrims, and news from distant lands. Imagine the mosaic of human activity in Delos's harbor: priests conducting ceremonies at nearby temples, merchants haggling over precious oils and crafted wares, fishermen mending nets, and sailors sharing tales under the warmth of the Mediterranean sun. The scent of salt and thyme mingled with the faint aroma of incense from sacred altars, weaving a sensory tapestry unique to this ancient crossroads. Delos was not merely a trade hub. It was a cultural beacon, where art, religion, and commerce intertwined. Its harbor bustled during festivals that drew visitors from across the ancient world, filling its streets and docks with vibrant celebrations, music, and ritual. Yet, over time, silt and shifting seas altered the shoreline, and the island's harbor slowly lost its prominence, swallowed gradually by nature's patient hand. Further west, the harbor of Ostia, Rome's ancient seaport, flourished as the gateway to the Eternal City. Ostia's harbor was engineered with remarkable precision, featuring canals, docks, and warehouses capable of handling vast quantities of grain, wine, and goods essential to Rome's massive population. Visualize the wide, bustling docks of Ostia, ships anchored side by side, their crews unloading cargo with practiced efficiency, while merchants and laborers moved with purpose among the rows of storage buildings. Temples dedicated to sea deities and protectors of sailors overlooked the harbor, reflecting the spiritual dimensions tied deeply to maritime life. The decline of Ostia's harbor came gradually as sediment filled the Tiber's mouth, transforming once deep channels into marshes and fields. Today, Ostia's ruins lie inland, a ghostly testament to the ever-changing relationship between land, sea, and human endeavor. The Mediterranean's lost harbors are chapters in a grand story of connection between people, cultures, and environments. They remind us of the transient nature of human achievement and the persistent, patient power of nature. Archaeological efforts reveal glimpses into these submerged worlds: stone piers encrusted with coral, amphorae cracked, but still holding secrets, shipwrecks resting silently beneath the waves. On land, artifacts recovered from ancient quays tell tales of daily life, economic exchanges, and spiritual practices that defined these coastal communities. As you float deeper into the quiet currents of the story, Imagine the gentle rocking of boats in sheltered bays, the soft murmur of voices blending with the sea breeze, and the fading light of sunset casting golden hues over forgotten shores. Let your thoughts drift with the tide, carried by the enduring whispers of the Mediterranean's lost harbors, places once alive with human hopes, dreams, and the ceaseless flow of history. The Mediterranean basin is a tapestry of countless stories woven by waves, wind, and time. Among them, the tales of harbors that once thrived as gateways into the ancient world's vibrant exchanges. Among these, the harbor of Caesarea Maritima, constructed under the rule of Herod the Great, stands out as a masterpiece of ancient engineering and ambition. Built with a visionary blend of Roman ingenuity and local expertise, Caesarea's harbor was protected by massive breakwaters made from volcanic concrete, a revolutionary technique that allowed structures to endure the constant assault of the sea. The harbor was a bustling hub of maritime activity, where ships from the far reaches of the empire docked to unload spices, textiles, grains, and precious metals. Imagine the daily rhythm in Caesarea's harbor, the calls of merchants bargaining over goods, the creak of rigging as sailors prepared for voyages, and the mingling aromas of fresh fish, exotic spices, and the salty sea breeze. The port was lined with warehouses, workshops, and temples, blending commerce, craftsmanship, and worship in a harmonious coastal cityscape. Festivals celebrated in Caesarea brought additional life to the harbor, processions honoring gods and emperors alike, music floating over the water, and dances that reflected the rich cultural mosaic of its inhabitants. Yet nature and time proved relentless. Earthquakes and silting gradually rendered parts of the harbor unusable, shifting trade routes inland and marking the beginning of its decline. Today, the partially submerged ruins of Caesarea's harbor invite underwater explorers and historians to uncover its secrets. Ancient anchorages, sunken docks, and remnants of once grand structures lie encrusted with marine life, telling stories of a vibrant past beneath the waves. Similarly, the ancient port of Pharos in Egypt, famous for its towering lighthouse, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, played a crucial role as a beacon guiding ships safely to harbor. Pharos was not just a marvel of architecture, but a symbol of connection, hope, and the merging of human aspiration with nature's vastness. The Mediterranean's lost harbors are more than relics. They are portals into the ancient world's soul. They reveal the complexity of trade networks, the depth of cultural interactions, and the resilience of human endeavor in the face of nature's ceaseless change. As you sink deeper into this story, picture the golden light of dawn shimmering on calm waters, the gentle lapping of waves against ancient stone, and the faint echo of lives once intertwined with these vanished ports. Feel the timeless ebb and flow of history, carried softly on the Mediterranean breeze, a lullaby from harbors lost but never forgotten. The Mediterranean Sea, with its gentle tides and shimmering surface, has long been a witness to the ebb and flow of civilizations, each leaving behind traces of their presence in the form of harbors that once bustled with life. Among the many forgotten ports, the harbor of Delos shines as a beacon of spiritual and commercial significance in the ancient Greek world. Delos, a small island sanctuary, was renowned as the mythological birthplace of Apollo and Artemis, drawing pilgrims from across the region. Its harbor was a gateway not only for trade, but for cultural exchange, where merchants, priests, and travelers mingled under the Mediterranean sun. Imagine the sounds of Delos's harbor at its height, the clang of smiths' hammers, the melodious calls of vendors, and the laughter of children playing near the water's edge. Ships from Egypt, Asia Minor, and the Italian peninsula arrived laden with goods such as ceramics, wine, spices, and textiles. The port's bustling activity was framed by the grandeur of temples and sacred sites, intertwining commerce with devotion. Yet, like many Mediterranean harbors, Delos faced natural and human challenges. Seismic activity, siltation, and changing trade routes gradually diminished its importance, and over time, much of its harbor fell into ruin beneath the waves. Today, underwater archaeology reveals submerged docks and warehouses, slowly uncovered from centuries of sediment and sea life. Further west, the once thriving harbor of Ostia Antica served as the lifeline for ancient Rome. Its extensive docks accommodated merchant vessels bringing grain, olive oil, and luxury goods to feed the sprawling capital. The city of Ostia was a vibrant port town, complete with temples, baths, markets, and theaters, all centered around its bustling harbor. Picture the scene: ships lining the piers, dockworkers unloading amphorae, and merchants negotiating deals that shaped the empire's economy. The harbor was not just a point of entry, but a hub of social and economic activity, reflecting the diversity and complexity of the Roman world. Over centuries, the harbor of Ostia faced silting from the Tiber River and changes in sea levels, eventually leading to its decline and abandonment. What remains today are well-preserved ruins, offering glimpses into ancient urban planning and maritime infrastructure. The lost harbors of the Mediterranean are windows into the past, revealing the delicate balance between human innovation and nature's relentless power. They remind us that even the grandest human endeavors are subject to the passage of time and the forces of the earth and sea. As you relax deeper into this narrative, imagine the soft splash of waves against ancient stones, the salty breeze carrying distant voices and ship bells, and the golden glow of sunset on a forgotten quay. Let your thoughts drift on the eternal tides carried by the quiet whispers of harbors lost, yet never truly forgotten. As the final light of day fades over the Mediterranean horizon, the lost harbors rest quietly beneath the waves and sands, their stories woven into the fabric of history and nature's enduring embrace. Though time and tide have claimed these once thriving gateways, their echoes remain, whispers carried on the sea breeze, hidden in submerged ruins, and preserved in the memories of coastal peoples. These harbors were more than places of trade. They were crossroads of civilization where cultures met, exchanged ideas, and wove the rich tapestry of Mediterranean life. Their stones, docks, and warehouses held the footsteps of merchants, sailors, and travelers whose lives shaped the ancient world's destiny. Consider the layers of sediment concealing sunken quays, the remains of ships lost to storms and time, and the shards of pottery scattered like treasures beneath crystal waters. Each artifact tells a tale, not just of commerce, but of human hopes, dreams, and the timeless desire to connect across distance and difference. On land, archaeological excavations reveal streets and marketplaces, temples and baths, all pointing to the vibrant life that once centered around these harbors. Through painstaking work, scholars piece together fragments of history, ancient graffiti, coin hoards, inscriptions, that paint vivid pictures of daily life and extraordinary events alike. Yet the story of these lost harbors is also a meditation on impermanence, the natural cycles of creation and decay that govern both human endeavors and the earth itself. Rising seas, earthquakes, and the shifting sands remind us that even the mightiest achievements are part of a greater, ever-changing whole. As you breathe slowly, sinking deeper into rest, imagine yourself standing on a weathered pier, the gentle waves lapping at your feet, the salt air filling your lungs with the scent of adventure and memory. Hear the distant call of seabirds, the soft creak of rigging in the breeze, and the quiet murmur of history unfolding beneath the stars. Feel the calm assurance that these lost harbors, though silent now, continue to speak through time, inviting us to listen, to remember, and to find peace in the eternal ebb and flow of life and legacy. So rest now, carried by the timeless tides of the Mediterranean, cradled by stories of harbors lost but never truly gone, an eternal lullaby sung softly by the sea itself. We've just explored the forgotten philosophers of ancient China, drifting through timeless wisdom and quiet reflection. Now let us glide gently to a city built on water, Venice, where secret canals and hidden waterways weave stories of mystery, beauty, and centuries past. Welcome to the Hidden Waterways of Venice, part of our Boring History for Sleep series. Imagine a city unlike any other, a city where the streets are winding canals, and the gentle ripple of water replaces the hum of traffic. Venice, the floating city, rises gracefully from a lagoon in northeastern Italy, a marvel of human ingenuity and resilience that has captivated imaginations for centuries. Beneath its famed bridges and bustling piazzas lies a labyrinth of hidden waterways, secret channels once vital to the life and survival of this unique city. These hidden passages, often overlooked by visitors, tell stories of commerce, culture, and quiet daily rituals that shaped Venice's rich history. In the early days, Venice was a collection of small islands, marshy and vulnerable to the tides. The ingenious inhabitants transformed their watery surroundings into a thriving urban center, building homes, markets, and churches on wooden piles driven deep into the mud. This delicate balance between land and water demanded a network of canals that served as streets, highways, and lifelines. The hidden waterways were more than mere transportation routes. They were the veins of the city's economy. Merchants transported goods from grand galleys to tucked-away warehouses. Craftsmen moved their tools and wares, and gondoliers navigated the winding channels with practiced ease. Picture a gondolier at dusk, the soft dip of his oar sending ripples across the still water, the narrow passageways cloaked in shadow, lantern light flickering against ancient stone walls. The silence is punctuated only by distant echoes, a cat's meow, the clink of a glass, the faint murmur of conversation carried on the cool evening air. These hidden waterways also served as quiet sanctuaries, places where Venetians found solitude away from the bustling piazzas, where secrets were whispered and history quietly unfolded. Their banks are lined with centuries-old palaces and churches, their facades reflecting stories of power, art, and devotion. Over time, some canals have been concealed or filled, while others remain hidden gems known only to locals and the most curious explorers. Each canal carries the weight of countless footsteps and stories, a flowing archive of Venice's enduring spirit and beauty. As you settle into the gentle embrace of this story, imagine drifting slowly along these secret waterways, surrounded by the soft glow of lanterns and the timeless elegance of a city cradled by water. Feel the calm, the history, and the quiet magic that lingers in every ripple, every shadow, and every stone of Venice's hidden veins. Let this serene journey carry you softly into rest, as the hidden waterways whisper their ancient lullaby beneath the moonlit sky. Venice's waterways are a marvel of human ingenuity, woven into the city's very foundation and life. In its earliest days, the lagoon was a marshy expanse, teeming with wildlife, but challenging for settlement. Yet the early Venetians saw potential where others saw only water and mud. They built their city on thousands of wooden piles, driven deep into the soft earth beneath the water's surface, creating a stable base for stone buildings and intricate canal systems. This network of canals was not merely decorative but essential, acting as streets, marketplaces, and transportation routes. Imagine the daily rhythm along these canals. Fishermen casting nets from small boats at dawn, merchants unloading crates of spices and silk from larger vessels, and gondoliers skillfully maneuvering through narrow, winding passages. The scent of saltwater mingled with the aroma of freshly baked bread and blooming flowers from hidden gardens behind ancient walls. The hidden waterways themselves were often narrow and quiet, shielded from the crowds and noise of main thoroughfares. They served as discreet routes for couriers and traders, places where whispered deals and clandestine meetings might take place beneath the shadows of centuries-old palazzi. These canals were alive with the sounds of Venetian life, the gentle slap of oars on water, the soft creak of wooden doors opening to reveal candlelit interiors, and the distant melody of a violin drifting from an open window. Over time, the waterways became entwined with Venice's culture and identity. Carnivals, festivals, and religious processions all embraced the canals as vital stages, with decorated boats gliding gracefully beneath arched bridges and lantern-lit streets. Yet the city's relationship with its waterways has always been delicate. Tides and floods, especially the infamous Acqua Alta, tested the resilience of these hidden channels and the communities that depended on them. Ingenious engineering efforts, from tide barriers to careful canal maintenance, were essential to preserving Venice's unique aquatic life. As you drift gently with this tale, picture yourself floating silently through a secret canal at twilight, ancient stone walls rising on either side, their surfaces darkened by time and water. Hear the soft ripple of water, the distant toll of a church bell, and the whisper of history carried on the cool night air. Let the serene flow of Venice's hidden waterways lull your mind, easing the day's tension and inviting you into a restful, peaceful sleep, carried by the timeless rhythm of water and stone. As the sun begins to set over Venice, casting a warm glow that slowly fades into twilight, the hidden waterways reveal yet more of their timeless secrets. These canals, winding silently beneath centuries-old bridges, have witnessed the slow passage of history, mysteries whispered softly in the hush of evening. The architecture that lines these waterways tells stories of Venetian life across the ages. Palatial homes with weathered facades, their foundations dipping gently into the water, adorned with faded frescoes and intricate stone carvings. Imagine windows glowing faintly with candlelight, behind which families have gathered for centuries, sharing meals, stories, and dreams. Venice's hidden waterways were once vital arteries for trade, diplomacy, and daily commerce. They provided discreet routes for the transportation of precious goods, silks from the east, spices from faraway lands, exquisite glassware from Murano. Each canal a stage for the city's bustling economy. Picture a gondolier navigating through a narrow, shadowed channel, his boat gliding silently past ivy-draped walls and wrought iron balconies. The soft splash of his oar blends with the distant murmur of a lute, floating on the night air like a gentle lullaby. These waterways also offered refuge and solitude. Away from the crowded squares and busy tourist paths, the quiet canals invited reflection, whispered conversations, and moments of peace. They were places where poets found inspiration, painters sought light and shadow, and lovers exchanged secret glances beneath moonlit arches. But Venice's relationship with water is complex. A delicate dance between creation and threat. Floodwaters rise unpredictably, tides sweep through the city, and the very foundations tremble with each passing year. The city's guardians labor tirelessly to maintain the canals, reinforcing walls and pumping out water to preserve this fragile balance. As you drift deeper into the story, imagine the cool night air filled with the scent of the sea, mingling with the subtle fragrance of jasmine and old wood. Hear the soft chorus of distant church bells, the whisper of gentle waves caressing stone steps, and the quiet breath of a city that lives and breathes on water. Let the serene flow of Venice's hidden waterways carry you gently toward rest, enveloping you in a calm that transcends time and place. Allow your thoughts to dissolve like ripples on the surface, calm and effortless, as you journey softly into sleep, beneath the watchful gaze of ancient bridges and silent waters. As the night deepens over Venice, the hidden waterways transform into quiet corridors of history and mystery, their dark waters reflecting the flickering glow of lanterns and moonlight. Beneath the city's surface lies a world where the past whispers through rippling canals and ancient stones, inviting a slow journey into the heart of a city unlike any other. These secret waterways, often overshadowed by the grand canals, served vital roles, carrying goods, people, and stories through narrow passages shielded from the bustle of the main thoroughfares. Imagine merchants navigating these quiet paths, transporting delicate glass, rich fabrics, and spices in the cover of twilight, their gondolas gliding silently past shadowed facades. The walls lining these canals tell tales of resilience and artistry. Weathered bricks hold centuries of stories, their surfaces softened by salt and time, yet etched with the artistry of Venetian craftsmen. Delicate ironwork balconies overlook the water, where flowers bloom even in the faintest light, adding bursts of muted color to the darkened streets. In these quiet places, life moves at a different pace. Locals gather for whispered conversations. Poets find inspiration in the interplay of shadow and light, and the soft sounds of music float gently through narrow alleys. The atmosphere is thick with history, yet light with the ephemeral beauty of a city suspended between water and sky. Venice's relationship with its waterways is a dance of balance between human ambition and nature's will, between preservation and change. The city's caretakers work tirelessly to maintain this fragile ecosystem, managing tides and floods to protect the delicate foundations that keep Venice afloat. Picture yourself drifting slowly along one of these hidden canals, the water's surface smooth and mirror-like, reflecting the glowing windows and darkened rooftops above. Feel the cool night air carry the subtle scents of salt, jasmine, and aged wood, soothing your senses and quieting your mind. Let the serene embrace of Venice's hidden waterways guide you deeper into relaxation, as the gentle lapping of water and the soft rustle of night settle over you like a calming lullaby. In this tranquil journey, the city's secret veins pulse softly, inviting you to rest and dream beneath the watchful eyes of centuries past. As the soft light of dawn creeps over the horizon, Venice's hidden waterways begin to stir gently, whispers of the night fading into the first breaths of a new day. These secret canals, winding like veins through the heart of the city, hold centuries of quiet history, layered beneath the footsteps of countless generations. Long before the bustle of modern tourism, these waterways were the lifeblood of Venice, a network that sustained its unique culture and economy. Merchants arrived from distant lands, their vessels laden with silk, spices, and precious metals, navigating the intricate maze of canals to reach discreet docks and warehouses tucked away from prying eyes. Imagine the smell of brine mingling with the earthy scent of wet stone and fresh bread from nearby bakeries. The gentle clinking of oars against wooden hulls harmonizes with the distant toll of church bells, weaving an ambient symphony unique to the floating city. Venice's hidden waterways also tell stories of art and intrigue. Silent gondolas carried poets and painters, lovers and philosophers, gliding through the shadows beneath ornate balconies and crumbling facades. These canals provided refuge for whispered secrets, clandestine meetings, and quiet reflection away from the crowded piazzas. The architecture lining these waterways is a testament to Venice's resilience and artistry. Weathered bricks layered with centuries of salt and water, windows framed by carved stone, and iron balconies draped with trailing vines. Each building, each archway, each worn step tells tales of celebration and sorrow, of life lived at the delicate interface of land and sea. Yet Venice's waterways also carry the weight of challenge. Rising tides and flooding threaten the fragile equilibrium, demanding constant vigilance and care. The city's guardians labor quietly, maintaining the intricate network of canals, reinforcing foundations, and protecting this heritage against the relentless embrace of the sea. As you drift deeper into this serene story, picture yourself gliding slowly through a narrow, shadowed canal just as the city awakens. Feel the coolness of the water, the soft murmur of early voices, and the gentle light playing upon centuries-old stone. Let this tranquil voyage through Venice's hidden waterways lull your mind, easing tension and carrying you softly into restful sleep. In the quiet flow of water and time, find peace, connection, and the gentle embrace of a city cradled by waves. As daylight gently filters through the narrow Venetian alleyways, the hidden waterways come alive with a quiet, timeless rhythm, water lapping softly against ancient stone, boats gliding silently beneath weathered bridges, and the air filled with the subtle sense of salt and history. Venice's intricate network of canals was crafted not only out of necessity, but also out of a deep understanding of the city's unique environment. Early Venetians mastered the art of balancing human life with the ever-changing tides and moods of the lagoon, creating a delicate harmony that has endured for centuries. Imagine skilled craftsmen driving wooden piles deep into the soft lagoon mud, their efforts forming the foundation for grand palazzos and humble homes alike. These foundations, invisible beneath the water's surface, are the hidden anchors that hold the city steady, a testament to human ingenuity and perseverance. The waterways themselves functioned as vital arteries, connecting disparate islands and neighborhoods. Gondolas, small cargo boats, and water taxis navigated the labyrinthine channels, delivering goods, messages, and people through a city where cars and streets do not exist. Picture a bustling morning scene. Fishermen unloading their catch at quiet docks, vendors setting up stalls along waterside markets, and children playing near the water's edge, their laughter mingling with the gentle splash of oars. The canals reflect the mosaic of Venetian life, its beauty, its bustle, and its enduring spirit. Yet Venice's waterways are also fragile, vulnerable to the pressures of time, climate, and tourism. Floods rise unpredictably, salt water corrodes ancient bricks, and the city's caretakers labor tirelessly to preserve this aquatic wonder. Modern engineering projects, including flood barriers and restoration efforts, strive to protect Venice's heritage for future generations. As you float gently through this story, envision yourself gliding beneath a low bridge, the soft echo of your passage mingling with the distant sounds of a city awakening. Feel the cool breeze ripple across the water, the muted glow of early sunlight warming the stone walls, and the peaceful rhythm of a city suspended between earth and sea. Let the tranquil pulse of Venice's hidden waterways cradle your mind, easing worries and inviting a deep, restful sleep. In this serene flow of water and time, find comfort and calm, carried softly by the timeless magic of a city like no other. As twilight settles softly over Venice, the hidden waterways take on a new, enchanting character, shrouded in shadows, illuminated by the gentle flicker of lantern light, and alive with whispers of the city's centuries-old secrets. These canals have long been the veins through which Venice's lifeblood flows, connecting the city's myriad islands and weaving a complex web of commerce, culture, and daily life. Yet beneath their serene surface lies a story of resilience, ingenuity, and quiet magic. Imagine gliding silently in a gondola beneath a low stone bridge, the water reflecting the ornate facades of palazzos, draped in creeping ivy. The soft splash of your oar harmonizes with distant strains of a violin and the murmured conversations drifting through narrow alleys. Venice's hidden waterways are home to countless moments, whispered confidences shared under arched bridges, solitary figures lost in thought beside candlelit windows, and the rhythmic footsteps of night watchmen guarding the city's fragile balance. These canals also carry echoes of history, tales of merchants who smuggled goods through secret passages, artists inspired by the interplay of water and light, and families who have called these waterside streets home for generations. Despite the city's grandeur, Venice remains vulnerable to nature's whims. Floods creep up silently, tides rise unexpectedly, and the salt air slowly weathers the stone that cradles the waterways. Yet, the city endures, buoyed by the dedication of those who tend to its canals and cherish its unique spirit. As you drift deeper into this tranquil story, picture yourself enveloped in the cool night air, the scent of damp stone and blossoming jasmine, and the gentle sway of water beneath your feet. Feel the soothing cadence of Venice's hidden waterways cradle you, quieting the mind and easing the body toward restful sleep. Let this serene journey through Venice's secret canals wash over you like a soft lullaby, carrying you gently into dreams filled with quiet beauty and endless peace. Here, beneath the moonlit sky, the city's hidden veins pulse softly, inviting you to rest, reflect, and renew. As the night deepens over the city of Venice, the hidden waterways reveal their quiet grandeur, a timeless testament to human creativity, harmonizing with nature's ebb and flow. These narrow canals and secluded passages are the soul of a city suspended between water and sky, where every ripple tells a story and every shadow holds a secret. Venice's hidden waterways were crafted through centuries of patient effort, an intricate dance of engineering, artistry, and respect for the delicate balance of the lagoon. The wooden pilings sunk deep into the silty earth, the stone bridges arched gracefully overhead, and the narrow channels carved a path through the labyrinthine cityscape. Imagine gliding gently beneath the pale glow of moonlight, the surface of the water a shimmering mirror reflecting ancient facades and flickering lanterns. The air is cool and still, carrying the subtle fragrance of salt and blooming night flowers. The gentle lap of water against boat hulls creates a soothing rhythm, a lullaby that has sung Venice to sleep for centuries. Along these secret waterways, life unfolds in hushed tones. The faint sound of a stringed instrument drifts from an open window. Footsteps echo softly on damp cobblestones. The distant bell of a church tolls a quiet hour. Venetians move with graceful ease, their lives entwined with the slow pulse of the water around them. Yet the hidden canals also bear witness to change. The gradual shift of tides, the encroachment of modern life, and the constant challenge of preserving a fragile heritage. Efforts to protect Venice from flooding and erosion are ongoing, a testament to the city's resilience and the devotion of those who love it. As you drift deeper into this serene narrative, picture yourself enveloped by the stillness of a secluded canal, the world narrowed to the gentle glow of lanterns and the soft embrace of water. Feel the calm wash over you, quieting restless thoughts and inviting a deep, peaceful sleep. Let the hidden waterways of Venice carry you softly into dreams, ancient, mysterious, and beautiful, where history flows gently beneath the moon, and the city's secret heart beats in quiet harmony with the night. The hidden waterways of Venice are like veins of a living, breathing city, quietly pulsing beneath centuries of history and culture. Each canal carries whispers of lives lived, merchants and sailors, lovers and poets, artists and dreamers, all drawn together by the delicate interplay of water and stone. Imagine a quiet dawn breaking over the lagoon, the water shimmering with soft golden light as boats begin their gentle passage through narrow channels. The city wakes slowly, its ancient facades catching the first rays, while the canals remain calm, reflecting the sky's pastel hues. These waterways have been silent witnesses to countless moments, grand celebrations and whispered secrets, moments of joy and sorrow, beginnings and farewells. Beneath the surface lie the echoes of forgotten stories, waiting to be rediscovered by those who listen closely. Venice's hidden canals are also a testament to human ingenuity, a city built against the odds, rising from marshland through determination, skill, and deep respect for nature's rhythms. The wooden piles driven into the mud, the stone bridges arching overhead, and the careful shaping of waterways all speak to centuries of careful craftsmanship and stewardship. As you drift deeper into this tranquil tale, picture the subtle sounds that fill the early morning air, the soft splash of oars, the distant call of a gondolier, the faint murmur of a waking city. Feel the cool breeze carrying the scent of salt and blooming flowers, inviting your mind to rest and your body to relax. Let yourself be carried gently by Venice's hidden waterways, flowing slowly and steadily toward peaceful sleep. In their quiet depths, find comfort and calm, wrapped in the enduring magic of a city where water is life, history, and dream. As the night deepens over Venice, the hidden waterways continue their timeless flow, carrying the essence of a city suspended between past and present, water and stone. These secret canals are more than mere passages. They are living memories etched into the fabric of Venice, cradling stories of love, loss, art, and endurance. The delicate balance between human creation and natural forces is at the heart of Venice's existence. Its waterways, crafted with care and maintained through centuries, reflect a profound understanding of the lagoon's rhythms. Tides that rise and fall, winds that whisper through narrow alleys, and waters that both sustain and challenge. Imagine drifting slowly beneath a moonlit bridge, the cool water gently rocking beneath your vessel as you listen to the soft echoes of a distant violin. The night air carries a blend of salt and jasmine, mingling with the faint scent of old wood and stone, warmed by the day's last light. Venice's hidden waterways are sanctuaries of quiet, places where the rush of time seems to pause, allowing moments of reflection and peace. Here, the city breathes softly, its pulse steady and gentle, inviting you to surrender to the calm embrace of night. Though the modern world encroaches, Venice's soul remains entwined with its canals, fragile yet resilient, timeless yet ever-changing. The caretakers of this watery city labor with devotion, ensuring that the delicate dance of water and stone continues for generations to come. As you settle into restful sleep, let the flow of Venice's hidden waterways carry you gently away, through shadowed canals, beneath starlit skies, and into dreams where history and tranquility merge. Feel the city's quiet heartbeat beneath you, a lullaby whispered on the waters, a timeless invitation to rest, renew, and awaken refreshed. Sleep peacefully, cradled by the hidden waterways of Venice, an eternal voyage through beauty, mystery, and calm.